do this. Lots to do today, I think. It'll be fun. I've got 3 streams to do. And, well, here, let me reposition this. I've got 3 streams to do, and I've got a friend to play games with. So much to do. I'm such a busy guy. I'm busy bee. What the hell am I gonna put on? I want Potsu, I think. I really like that guy's music. Yeah. Oh my god, I remember these songs. Oof. Alright, let's draw some demons. I'm gonna make the Trochanterry today. Today's prompt is MURKY. So he's gonna be barely visible in red, I think. Alright, let's do this. Yeah. I forgot I get to draw teeth. Nice. That is, and will probably always be my thing. There's something very satisfying about them. I think these have to be more needle-like though. Maybe I'll change the thinness of my brush. Even more. I want them to be precise, right? It's not helping too much. I think there's some oddity with this, so maybe I turn it up. Hi Bono, how's it going? I'm messing with a new brush. Today's prompt is MURKY, and so I'm drawing a Trochanterry from off. It's like a fish guy. Yeah, that's good. Generally. I fucked this brush setting all up. I just wanted it to be thinner, but I think this might be about as thin as it gets. I can erase in between them, I suppose. I can make this as precise as possible. Give him a Yankee hat, yeah? You've been a big baseball guy, huh? I don't think I realized for as long as we've known each other that you were such a big baseball dude. Oh yeah, it's not a lifelong thing. That's, I mean, that would explain it, right? Man, I remember all these songs. Oh, but now you're competitive. Are you? Are you sports betting, Vana? Are you on DraftKings? Don't say true. I that doesn't lean one way or the other. I need to know if your ass is spending billions. Yeah. Well, I'm not here to encourage you. I was on DraftKings once. Do you know that? It was when I made my trip down the coast to Florida. I drove there. I saw an ad that essentially looked like free money, and so I got like $50 worth of free money. Like I did sports things, but then I kept playing, and I sports bet on MMA and basketball and stuff. I won a couple of them, to be fair. Like you know, it's gambling. You can win, but it is quite easy to throw away all your money. It's very tempting, in my experience at least. Yeah, you think? Yeah, I know I fell for the ads, whatever, man. I was having a fun weekend. I was doing whatever. I went to Jersey. I bet there too, even when I had no money. Just surely, right? Just keep pushing it, dude. You can only stand to lose 100%, but you could win fucking billions. Come on. One more leg. Yeah, life lessons. They've gotten me far, I think. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I wish I had a little more money, but I just need to work. It's a fucking shame I got sick this week. I wanted to. I want money. Bet on Deuce McBride's? Okay. Surely, dude, you should give me sports betting advice, and I should take those bets on stream to potentially... Well, we'll see, right? I could, you know, there was a period where guys I would watch on YouTube were gambling losers, because it would, after my gambling, I gambled quite a bit for a little bit. I started watching them and I was like, yeah, I don't even want to gamble after I watch them. People who like will spend billions on Kick and stuff. I had a couple periods where I would watch people rage over slot machines, or look up like old people in casinos freaking out after an hour of losses. Dude, we could do that. I remember how antsy I would get waiting for my my things to pull through, like to see the results of what I was betting. We're like, dude, they're so close. I just need I need one more touchdown in the next 8 minutes. It's so possible. Yeah, this is gonna look cool. It's true. I did that. I assure you I did. I don't recall if I made money off it, but I... you know, based off of your philosophy. Well, I hate that I have to keep clicking over to set this. I need an ad blocker, but YouTube disabled ad blockers. I should just listen to all the songs I want and make my own playlist in a file on my computer and then play that during stream. That would be optimal. I could do that. I could do that today. I could make a physical playlist, like a mixtape. Dude, you know about every sport, huh? How many are you invested in? Baseball, football, you big hockey guy? I know people who are. Or I knew people. It's nothing burger sport. It's not nothing burger. People get into fights and get really hurt. Yeah, this is gonna look awesome. I have not detailed a beast in so long. This is exciting for me. And then I'm gonna add red, and it's gonna look fucking dope. You know, you're right. That was my argument, huh? Yeah, it's true. That's what I believe, at least. I don't remember. I have been to hockey games, and I don't remember caring much. I was like thinking most of the time about when they would punch each other. So, you know, I think we need to bring back more Coliseum style stuff. I tell you, oh man, this might be morally dubious. I don't know. I've had people with both opinions, and I think it's fine. I've been to forgive me, midget wrestling. I say they are very open about that. It's like they embrace it heavily. I think that just having people fucking do performative slugging of each other is fun. It's cool. You can eat a big turkey leg drumstick and have a big thing of beer and slap your fat belly and watch people punch each other. It's great. Oh, should I make his nose smoother? I don't know. That's okay. I have. Of course I've seen slapping contests. Have you seen, I almost said Brokeback Mountain. Slap Mountain? That was like the earliest one, right? The earliest one that really broke through. We got the craziest hillbillies in all the hills out here. So come on down to Slab Mountain. No, you don't recall them? You don't know Slab Mountain, dude? There was Red Solo Cup, and that's all I remember. I remember Red Solo Cup. He was funny. He was this tiny, like, in medical terms, in RT terms, someone in my profession would refer to him as a pink puffer. Someone who is kind of short and malnourished looking and puffing really fast with a big full chest, and they're all red. That's what I think of when I look at that guy. Yeah, I just come back to it time to time. In the past, I've loved those videos, and I still recall them with glee at certain points. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm bored on YouTube, I'll look up people fighting in Walmart compilation. You know. It's good fun. Dude, there's so many. No way that's real. I'm a connoisseur of, like, supermarket fights. I don't know, man. There's just something about people getting into it over biscuits. I can't. I remember one of my favorites was, well, I felt awful because the child was involved, but a little kid, like, got in and started, like, flicking a lady his mom was taking down. Like, there were two women fighting over cereal or baby toys or something, and then a little 6-year-old comes in as his mom has the lady pinned and starts flicking her in the eye. That one got responded to pretty quickly, I think. So there wasn't too much of it, but I thought that was a funny moment. Because people weren't really sure what to do, like if they could take him away from the fight. Because it wasn't their kid. Like, they didn't want the moms to turn on them, but they were fucking occupied. I just feel bad for the child. You know, like, they shouldn't be exposed to those types of things. But it is funny when it happens.
Playing on iPhone? Now you can play Unlocked with Google Play Games on PC. Unlock rewards with Google Play Points. So the more you play, the more you earn. Go play on PC with Google Play Games. Download now.
Yeah, this is looking awesome, right? I mean, I think so. This looks really fucking cool. I'm gonna make a crazy trochanteric. Yes. That's how I feel. I feel a part of me does not like that I enjoy morally ambiguous content so thoroughly, but the other part of me recognizes that it's morally ambiguous and there are solid arguments for both sides, and, you know, these people are, like, probably making money and this is what they're choosing to do, and some part of me is a libertarian, right? If you are choosing to do these kinds of things, you are allowed to do that and suffer the consequences for it. Like, I didn't force you to get into a fight in the Walmart. It's like a backwards A? What? Oh, this? Backwards E, but cool. Thank you. I have no idea what that means. I don't know what strikeout... Is strikeout a person? Yeah. Alright, I think... oh yeah, they have fins, don't they? I should include that. I can also make the, when I get more advanced into editing and stuff, I can make foggy bits move across the painting and make it a little 3D, like we're in a fish lens or something. It'll be cool, I think. I can do some lighting effects, besides just regular shading. Okay. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So the inverse K is correlating to the E here. I understand. You were taking the time to explain that to me. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep the lines. Let's just fucking keep finishing this, right? I could put in the arms, I guess. Let me pull up the picture. Yeah, he's got little arms, and he's got 2 ears, and then spiky fins. Oh. I'm gonna put the ears here, because I don't want them to stick off the head, actually. I think it would remove the strength this silhouette has. Okay, maybe I should have them. No, I'm gonna move it up. I fold it immediately. I don't know much about sports, man. I've never been a big sports guy. So I'm very in the dark. Not against it at all. In fact, I'd be cool with learning about more. I just never have gotten particularly invested. Yeah, that'll work. This needs to be smaller, though. Nah, it just needs to be moved down. It wasn't about the thickness, necessarily. There. No! Oh, fuck you. I forgot. I tried using, I'm used to A-Sprite command keys now. No, that needs to be more up. How is that? Is it fine? Yeah, it's fine. Oh, yeah, you think... I don't care, really. I know a guy... I was saying people are into hockey. I know a guy who's a big, Bruins fan. Sorry, it took me a moment to pull it up even, but... Yeah, the big B, the yellow and black one. I had it on a monster truck when I was little. I had monster trucks when I was little. It was awesome. I had monster trucks and Transformers. I had Starscream, dude. That shit rocked. I can do it. Like, I could be an NY fan. I don't have much obligation to Boston, so. Yeah, I don't know either. I don't think anybody knows enough about hockey to even have the basic knowledge to trash that guy. Haha, the Bostons did really this season. Yeah. Seriously? In all of American sports? Oh. This is the year, guys. I promise. We can do it this time. I really believe.
Oh, another morning to savor the crunchy nooks and crannies splendor.
Oh, is that true? I did not know that. That's...
Which is a nook and which is a cranny?
Yikes.
That's a nook, cranny, 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 nook, cranny. I mean, they should be teaching you this in school. Huzzah! A toast to breakfast.
With Slack, you can collaborate.
I know I did bet on the Jets doing stuff, but I never really said I knew much about their history. I don't know shit about sports. Not modern ones. It's cringe. I do esports. I know a lot of stuff about that. Oh, what if his arms came from down here? That'd be cool. Because he has arms. This guy. No. His, this is his back, right? This is his spine? Oh, this should be facing the camera. I can keep it here as a reference, but it should be like this. Oh yeah, there we go. Maybe I can I already promised someone I'd hide fucking The Simpsons in my Inktober drawings. You want me to hide a New York hat and Homer? You want me to combine them? Like, Jesus. What is up with, oh, it's because I have a high, whatchamacallit? The stabilizer is at 38. Maybe I could lower that, honestly. Yeah, I don't mind that at all, really. I can draw stable, thank you. Maybe I'll move this too, just a little. There you go, now it's embedded. Ah, that's cool. For real. In the eye? No, because I'm... That's the focal point. Oh my god. Okay, I'll put low opacity Homer. Dude, that's gonna be the whole point, is that like you can see the eye glowing. Oh my god, fine, I'll put 1% opacity. Homer wearing Yankee hat? Jesus Christ. That'll be really funny. No, that was a good idea, man. I'll set that up. Nice. I know I like to go very slow with my detailing. Be thorough and thoughtful, but I love drawing beasts. I haven't done it in so long, man. I've like never sat down and just drawn a fucking monster on my digital pen. It happens so infrequently. I used to draw monsters so much, man. ghouls and beasts and things. Yeah, this is gonna rock. Look how cool he's getting. Maybe it's thinner though. Or maybe I have creases around it. Yeah, in the skin. It should bulge a little bit. Yeah, just shit those, I guess. Man, I am going detailed. This is gonna take a while. But I hope it turns out awesome. It looks like Homer's hair, like a zigzag. Sure, I could do that. This definitely needs to be yeah, I can do a lot of magic, but that was too much. Here, that'll be fine. I can do that there. Let's just thin it out a little bit. A slightly better guideline. Where would I put a zigzag? Sorry I'm going so quiet. I'm just focusing. I'm having fun with this. I could put a zigzag somewhere, but it's about placement.
boundaries are healthy. That's why I set my phone to do not disturb when I'm shopping at Kohl's.
Silence your phone. Kohl's Friends and Family Sale is on. Save 20% on fines for you and your family. Plus, earn Kohl's Cash at...
I could do it on this. I don't know about that though. I don't even have to look. I know this one. I know this one. No, I'm not gonna look. It was never what I thought it would sound like. How do I not remember this? It's not just Friends. It's... What is... I really don't want to look. Have you heard? Of course. That isn't what I thought it would be. Embarrassing. Yeah, dude. I really love Potsu. One of my early favorites. Long time ago, I listened to this religiously. Well, this this guy and a lot more of his creations. I always loved it. Have You Heard by Potsu. P-O-T-S-U. I learned later on, I forget how. It wasn't from starting Japanese in Duo, but I learned that Potsu is the Japanese expression for the onomatopoeia of rain. It goes potsu potsu. Oh no, yeah, that's what it is. Have you heard? He has a couple where he uses his voice. Or I suppose you could have also meant Potsu too. Or whatever. Should you were here, talk is like my problems disappear. I wanna make this work and I'm so sorry. I reached for a star and now I'm falling, 'cause we're just friends. I love detailing in gums, but I don't know if gums are optimal for this one. Maybe. I'll think about it more. It's like my problems disappear.
One in 5 mothers are impacted by substance use and maternal mental health conditions. It's the most common complication of pregnancy and birth.
Oh, hold on, I gotta check something. I'll be right back. I might get a drink too. You're gonna listen to this maternity commercial.
Access Mental Health and Substance Use for Moms supports providers treating pregnant and postpartum individuals with mental health and substance use concerns.
The team psychiatrist was amazing. That was one of the best experiences consulting. She was kind, intelligent, and had so much wisdom to share.
With Access Mental Health and Substance Use for Moms, frontline obstetric and primary care providers have real-time access to seasoned perinatal psychiatrists. Our experts are up to date with the latest research and best practices, guiding you in screening, assessing, and treating your patients effectively. Our program also offers free monthly webinars and toolkits filled with actionable information, algorithms, and insights for treating mental health and substance use concerns. And patients receive support navigating the mental health system. No question is too small. You're not alone. We're here to help. Access Mental Health and Substance Use for Moms.
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words, create your brand, your opportunity, your breakthrough. Feeling a vibe? Run with it. From can't look away to gotta have it. Make every detail yours. Bring out what's hot. Remove what's not. Crystallize it. Instantly set a tone that speaks in your voice to your audience. Keep moving. Your site grows with you. Add solutions that meet you where you are and take you where you want to go. Smooth to make, easy to love.
Whisper little songs to myself as I tread through all this weight. Been doing this so long, there's nothing wrong, it's just what I always say. Picking up a piece of myself that I lost along the way. Covering my tracks when I leave, I just hope I'll be okay.
I totally lied. I got a bagel. Not about to having to check on Sean, but. It's a good ass bagel. Oh fuck. I punched my mic a little. A Muhammad Taiwara? Why? Who is that? I don't think I know this one. I don't think I've ever heard this song. That does not look as good as I was hoping. That'll be fine. Yeah? Alright, I'll say I like the guy. That looks okay. This bagel rocks. I love bagels, man.
Taking the time to savor Thomas's crunchy yet soft bagels.
Thanks, Tom.
It's Tom, actually.
Right, Tom.
Tom. You doing that on purpose?
Tam.
Tam.
How have we got to Tam?
Huzzah! A toast to breakfast.
Stop
I,
stressing
dear
over
God,
pressing
I
send.
was waiting for the skip after that commercial,
Trust your writing
but
every
there is no
time with
skip to be
Robot
seen.
Premium.
Dude,
Upgrade today.
YouTube commercials take so fucking long now. I was almost tempted when I saw ads for other popular streaming platform or like, you know, video streaming things trying to make their mark. I've been tempted to go to other platforms. Cause how wonderful would it be if we had YouTube, but it wasn't run by YouTube? Hmm? That's $1 million pitch. Nah. What was I doing? How could I can't remember it all, Jesus. Oh, whatever. Just keep detailing, you're not done yet.
Boundaries are healthy. That's why I set my phone to do not disturb when I'm shopping at Kohl's.
Silence your phone. Kohl's Friends and Family Sale is on. Save 20% on fines for you and your family. Plus, earn Kohl's Cash at Kohl's and Kohl's.com.
Lowe's knows when you need a new appliance, you need it fast. So we offer next day delivery on hundreds of appliances. Plus, members save more. And we'll haul away your old one. When you need it fast, we've got you covered. Shop Lowe's today. We help, you save.
I keep doing that. We're getting there.
Baby, I had a dream last night. I was flying my little kite when you came. Fully tasted by all the sunlight, but it was love at first sight. I can't tell, don't know how well. Whoa, cap with your name in my brain, what a shame. If I could only hold you, but you ain't real. Words cannot explain what I felt, what a shame. If I could only hold you, but you ain't real.
Okay, I'm tired of this. I want something funnier. There you go. It's a funny cat. I want something silly, something 30 hours of explaining how a nuclear reactor works. All of trigonometry explained in 36 minutes. Okay, this will be good.
Let me show you the top 10 most important things for you to know about trigonometry.
Let's see if I can focus.
Must know number 1, similar triangles. Similar triangles are triangles that have the exact same shape, but might have different sizes. Let me draw 2 triangles so you can see what I mean. Now I've started by drawing these 2 triangles the exact same size and shape, so they're congruent. If I were to take triangle DEF and make it smaller without changing any of its angles, so keep the shape the exact same, it is still similar to triangle ABC. And similar triangles have two very important properties. Their pairs of corresponding angles are equal. So in these two triangles, you can see that angle A and D are equal to each other, B and E are equal, and C
Why
and
don't
F
I
are
just
equal.
play
The other important property is
instead
that
of the
ratios of
advertisement? I could put
corresponding sides are
trigonometric functions
also
there.
so the ratio
We
of
can watch
side
videos
AB
together while I do
side
this. We could
DE
watch
would be
like
equal
car
to the
accident
ratio of side
compilation.
AC to DF, which would be equal
I know
to
I
the
mentioned
ratio of
another
side BC
compilation earlier.
to
What
DF.
was it?
And we can use these
Oh yeah,
properties to
people
solve for
fighting in
missing
Walmart's
sides and
compilation.
angles in triangles that are similar to each other.
I have that
Let
power.
me show you an example. In this question, we're asked to solve for the length of x. In order to do that, I'll have to use these two similar triangles that I see, the big triangle and the smaller triangle within it. We'll have to start by proving they're similar, which there are three ways to prove similarity. You can do angle-angle similarity, just find two pairs of equal angles. Side-side-side similarity, where you show that the ratios of all three pairs of sides are equal. Or side-angle-side similarity, where you find two equal ratios of pairs of sides and one matching pair of angles. For this question, we can do angle-angle similarity. If you know your angle theorems, we have two parallel lines here, connected by this side. I know that the angles inside of that F pattern, called corresponding angles, are equal to each other. So I could say that angle D is equal to angle B. Same thing on the other side of the triangle. I know that these angles in here are equal to each other, so angle E equals angle C. And then, of course, the two triangles both share angle A. So based on all three pairs of angles being equal, I know the triangles are the same shape. So I could say that triangle DEA is similar to triangle BCA. And because I know that they're similar, I know that the ratios of corresponding sides have to be equal to each other. So I know that the length of BC divided by the length of DE is going to be equal to the length of BA divided by the length of DA. And then if I sub into this equation what I know, I can then solve this equation using algebra. I can cross multiply. 10 times 6 is 60, and 4 times x plus 6 is 4x plus 24. Solving this for x, I'd have 36 equals 4x. Divide the 4, I have x equals 9. There you go. Now you can see how to use properties of similar triangles to solve for unknowns. Must know number 2. SOHCAHTOA. This is an acronym that helps you remember the three primary trig ratios. Let me draw.
You know what?
In this right triangle, I've indicated.
I know it's oh, this is stupid. Here, where the fuck? I could turn on my screen cap, right? Okay. I put it there. Okay. And now. Oh, well, it's. Oh, we'll just have to raise that. Okay. Cool. Beautiful. Now from here. Wait, is that right? Yeah, that's about right, right? I mean, if I do this, if I just full screen, whatever. I'm not trigonometry. Let's do worst cave diving. All right, here we go. An hour and 13 minutes.
With Prime
Oh, it's
Big
been
Deal
all over the
Days
place.
coming
That's
October
probably
7th and 8th, greatness is a deal away.
Tragedy.
Maybe it was skipped there. It was
I
right
ordered
past the
200 hand-forged
most
knives
popular
for my
part.
dorm room and built a Wix website to sell them.
Mossdale Cave Incident. It was June 24th, 1967, and 10 cavers were about to enter Mossdale Cavern to help clear some of the deeper passages and map them out. The two leaders of the group had already explored this cave before, which reassured everyone else. This
Perfect.
particular cavern was known for its tight spaces and the very few areas where
This
a
is the
person
best
could
stream of all time.
After a few hours hours inside, 4 of the cavers
This is
realized
exactly
how
what I would do.
difficult the cave actually
Except
was
I would
and decided
usually,
to
I would
return to the
watch,
surface. They noticed a cloudy sky.
I would probably
They
watch
stepped out of
Pokemon,
the
honestly.
cave. The remaining
I watch
cavers
Joey
continued
Pokegame
to
and
descend until they reached the
Blunder a
far
lot.
Marathon Passage, which measured only 18 inches by 12 inches, with a small stream of water flowing along the bottom. Everything seemed to be going well, and the group on the surface soon noticed that it had started raining, so they took cover. Initially, the rain did not seem concerning, but the cavers inside began to notice rising water levels. When the water became alarmingly high, they decided to end the day's work and head back, even though they were still 3 hours from the entrance. Meanwhile, the surface group spotted something terrifying. A lake of water had formed around the cave's entrance. The cavers inside had no idea how much water was about to flood the cave. The surface group ran to get help, while the cavers frantically tried to reach higher chambers. However, the water continued to rise, pressing toward their faces. Rescuers and hundreds of volunteers worked tirelessly, pumping water out of the cave and
Yeah,
pumping
dude,
oxygen
I'm real
inside,
into him, dude.
hoping that the cavers had found safety.
I think Blunder is hilarious, though. I watch Blunder more than I watch Joey.
It was
But I
May
mean,
28th,
I can't like put it
1970,
past the joke, man. He's so fucking cool.
had planned a dive at Mount Gambier's shaft
No,
site.
this is not
sinkhole
TikTok
had
Reddit
leaked.
stories.
There was
This
only
is
a
an
tiny
hour and
opening
15 minutes
with a lake
of
20 feet below. From this opening,
worst
a beam
cave
of light
deaths.
went down into the cave and onto the lake,
Worst
which
cave
was
incidents.
extremely helpful for the divers'
Yeah, he's
orientation.
awesome.
This beam was visible throughout most of the cave, unless divers
Dude, you know,
ventured too deep into one of the two sides.
CTC, I would see him on their stuff together all the time. And I did not know who he was for the first while when I would see him on. And all I would see him do is, I don't know if it was just like a bad series of, I kept watching the right episode to see this, but I kept seeing him make bad calls and then being not funny. Like I don't know, he wouldn't crack jokes or nothing. Like, he would just make a bad call and do nothing else. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Not very experienced in cave diving. They were more accustomed to
Reddit, am I the asshole? Am I the angel?
added even more risk to their plan. They started going
I like
down
r
towards the
slash
western
am I the
section of
angel?
cave, and one
I don't go on
experienced
Reddit
diver
really,
noticed
but
that nitrogen narcosis was kicking in, so he immediately went back out. Several of them followed him and went back to the surface as well, but 4 of them kept going, determined to set the record and get a quick look before resurfacing.
I don't know if
After
I
a
like
minute or
this.
so, the group at the surface became concerned, realizing the 4 divers would soon exhaust their air supply. A few returned to the cave to find them, and they discovered a flashlight and a camera on the bottom, but no trace of the divers. There was a problem that we haven't yet mentioned: silt. The movements of the 4 divers stirred up the long settled silt into a sand cloud that would take a lot of time to settle back. This reduced visibility to less than an arm's length, removing any hope for orientation for the underwater divers. Without being able to see anything, oxygen running
I'm fine with
dangerously
it being
low,
ambiguous as to what
nitrogen
those
narcosis
are.
set in. The 4 divers drowned.
I think
Jacob's
these
well
look cool,
tragedy.
so.
It's November 23rd, 1983, and 2 students from Texas State University, named Richard and Clark, are about to enter Jacob's Well, an underwater hole that leads to an underwater cave. This hole
Dude,
seems
get out of my
relatively
well.
shallow, around 25 feet, and many people try to touch the bottom and then come up. However, this is just a deceiving appearance because it actually leads to another underwater cave with 3 chambers. The first 2 are relatively open and easy to get through, but the third one has a really small squeeze to get into it. If you manage to squeeze through, you'll enter a room that is 10 feet tall, and you'll see a really small hole at the farthest edge, too small to pass through. This small tunnel was just 2 feet in diameter, and 2 years prior, 2 people died in it because after they managed to get through, a rock slide filled with gravel blocked them inside. Now, getting back to our 2 students, they were fairly experienced in normal diving, but not in cave diving, and they were trying to get their instructor certification in open water diving. Their instructor, Don, was an incredibly skilled and experienced diver, and he was the one who removed the 2 bodies we just talked about. He used to constantly warn everybody to stay away from Jacob's Well since it's deadly, and he even tried to cover up the small hole that leads to the 4th chamber with some cement. But other divers reopened it and left a message that said, "You can't keep us out." Don himself almost died in Jacob's Well. When he tried to enter the 4th chamber, a gravel slide trapped him in the tunnel. He almost resigned himself to death. His tank was empty, and he had swallowed some water when his survival instinct kicked in, and he started rapidly moving until he cleared enough gravel to escape. When he did, he saw his diving colleague extending a regulator for him to breathe. As he started resurfacing, the air inside his body expanded until he reached almost 4 times his normal body size. By the time he broke the surface,
What the fuck? 4 times his size? Jesus Christ. What? Okay, I want this gone. How do I skip? Why is this? Go away.
Mr. Boots,
Oh my god. YouTube ads suck ass.
The lowest prices of any national grocery store. It's an Aldi thing.
Surface, he was screaming in
All
pain.
right.
His belly was
This is detailed pretty decently by now.
These stories caught the
I
attention
think it
of
looks
Richard,
okay.
who wanted to take
I'm not.
even though they didn't really know much about cave
I
diving.
don't want it on my
November 23rd,
screen.
1983, they went into Jacob's well and reached the third chamber where the small hole was located. Richard removed his tank to get through the hole and started going in while holding his tank. When Clark removed his own oxygen tank and tried to get in, he saw Richard's face and noticed
I don't know if I really care. Yeah, just a couple spines up there is fine, I think.
the regulator and gave it to him, letting him breathe again. They started passing the regulator back and forth.
Let's
as they
make a new
made their
layer.
way out, and somehow they managed to get through the tight squeeze of the third chamber. They then began making their way toward the exit until a terrifying sound caught their attention, a clank from their oxygen tank. Not only did this mean they'd hit a wall with the tank, so they were going the wrong direction, but it also meant the tank was almost empty. They realized they'd run into the false chimney in the first chamber, a tunnel that looks like it leads to the surface, but is actually a dead end. Clark managed to swim back to the surface and gasped for air after covering an incredible 75 feet in a single breath. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Richard, who remained behind and drowned. When Clark called the police for assistance, Don the instructor himself showed up and was stunned to see his students there. Gollum's Cave. It's August 18th, 2005, and a group of 5
There we go.
friends decided to venture into the Gollum Cave, also called the Cave of Death because of how dangerous it was. They reached the entrance at 3 a.m., and one of the friends decided to wait for the others outside. They encountered their first problem when actually trying to get in, as they had to crawl through a
Here,
small
let me
pool.
make a
After
background
that, there was
that's
a fork going left and right, and they chose
just
left,
fucking
which
like
led them to another
not
small
black,
pool of
but
water.
let's
This
do.
seemingly innocent pool, however, actually led to another section of the cave,
There we
through an
go.
underwater tunnel. The tunnel itself was really small, just 3 to 4 feet in diameter, and to get through it, you had to be completely submerged. This meant only one person at a time could go in, and they had to swim about 15 feet. One by one, they started plunging into the pool of water to reach the other side of the cave, and once they made it, they discovered a section with about 3 feet of airspace. From the perspective of the friend who stayed outside, there was no sound or light coming from inside the cave, and after a while he started to get worried. He went into the cave himself, but heard no noises and saw no lights. Not sure what to do, he first called some friends who had experience with caving, and then called the police. He couldn't have imagined what was happening inside. The 4 friends who went in probably realized that the 3 feet of airspace they'd reached had bad air, which is a term cavers use for air that doesn't have the normal balance of gases, meaning there's more carbon dioxide and less oxygen. This reduces your ability to think, move, and breathe properly, making the return swim through that narrow tunnel super risky. They tried to get back out one at a time, but the first person who went underwater was unable to find the exit hole before running out of breath. That happened because the increased carbon dioxide messed with her ability to hold her breath and think clearly. After 30 to 60 seconds, the second person went in and found the first one, and so on, until all of them got stuck in the tunnel. The police arrived and tried to pump in oxygen and pump out water, while family and friends waited anxiously outside the cave. Unfortunately, it was all in vain. The bodies were later recovered, and the cave was eventually closed off with cement. Sterkfontein Cave Incident. It was September 29th, 1984. A cave explorer named Nuno Gomes was exploring unmapped sections of the Sterkfontein Cave in South Africa. He was accompanied by his 2 friends, Peter Verhulsel and Malcolm, and together they planned to lay a guideline from the entrance to the farthest point of the wet cave area known as Milner Hall. The plan was for Nuno to go in and place the guideline, while Peter and Malcolm waited outside, assisting him from the surface. Nuno plunged into the water and successfully laid the line, covering a distance of 396 feet from the entrance to the end. Happy because of the success, the 3 decided to go back in and follow the new guideline. Once they reached the air pocket at the end, they were satisfied that they had successfully mapped this cave section, so they turned around and began to head out, following the line. As Nuno led the group, he suddenly felt Malcolm touch him. Malcolm was signaling that Peter was no longer behind them. Nuno went back to see where Peter had gone and noticed that he had entered a side tunnel. Nuno tapped Peter to get his attention and signaled him to return to the guideline and exit the cave. As they headed back, however, Peter disappeared again. This time, Nuno and Malcolm assumed he had taken the other exit, avoiding the tight squeeze they themselves used, so they did not go back to look for him. When Nuno and Malcolm surfaced and realized Peter was not there, and still hadn't come out after a while, they submerged once more to look for him. They searched along the guideline and even in the side tunnels, but there was no sign of him. After 4 long hours, they ran out of air tanks, and the stirred-up silt reduced visibility to almost nothing. Finally, late that afternoon, they exited the cave and called for help. The fire brigade arrived, but lacking cave diving expertise, had to wait for the police divers to continue the search in the evening. The silt was so stirred up that visibility was heavily impaired. The police called off the search for the night, convinced they would now be searching for a body rather than a survivor. What no one realized was that Peter was not dead at all. He had been sidetracked by a secondary tunnel, and the cave's complex 3D structure, combined with the lack of a guideline, the stirred up silt, and the darkness, made it nearly impossible for him to orient himself. After trying many possible paths, Peter found a small room and decided to wait there for rescuers. He shone his light into the water in hopes of signaling his friends, but when no one came for a long time, he switched it off to conserve the little battery life remaining. He tried making noise by banging his tank on the rocks, but to no avail. Eventually, he became exhausted, fell asleep, and lost track of time. After that first night of searching, the police closed off the cave so no one else could enter. Unfortunately, the silt took a long time to settle, so visibility remained.
Awesome.
Convinced Peter had not survived, the police decided to wait a full week before resuming the search. On October 6th, 7 days after Peter's disappearance, they returned but found no sign of him. Another week passed before they tried again, but he was nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Peter was still alive. He had spent 14 days in complete darkness, starving and having lost much of his weight. Hoping for a way out, he decided to follow a passage leading from the small room where he had sheltered. After traveling 120 feet away from the water, he discovered it was only a dead end, so he returned to his spot near the water to wait once more for rescuers. The police continued weekend searches for 6 weeks, but they never found him and finally called off the search with no result. At that point, they reopened the dry sections of the cave, but kept the water section closed. Volunteers then began looking for a connection between the dry and wet cave systems, and Nuno joined them. His contributions were crucial. He was the one who discovered the connection where they could enter the wet section of the cave. It was there that they found a set of footprints leading to a dead end, and soon after, Peter's body. Beside his body was a message that read, "I love you, Cheryl and Ma." It was later discovered that one diver had come really close to finding him, as he entered an opening that was just 100 feet away from Peter's location. The autopsy revealed that he died of starvation after 3 weeks in the cave. Although we may criticize Peter's decision to explore on his own, we should also respect the fact that he fought to survive until the very end. Crooked Swamp Incident.
With Thrivent, your financial journey isn't a solo mission. Your money is a tool to support the people,
So lame.
causes, and community you love. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more.
It was March 27, 1982, and Donald Weltner, along with his 2 sons Christopher and Roger, were about to lead a group of 12 Boy Scouts on a day of cave exploration. This wasn't Donald's first time caving, and even though the passages in the Crooked Swamp cave system were notoriously narrow, he wasn't too concerned. Donald was bigger than the other participants, so if he could get through, the rest of the group could too. At 2 o'clock, they entered the cave through its 16 by 28-inch entrance and stopped in a room inside. Donald was on the eastern side and noticed several smaller tunnels leading from the room. However, because they weren't sure which passages would be too narrow, Donald decided to check one. It involved a tight squeeze but appeared to open.
Why am
to
I
another
doing
section,
this?
So he tried to push through.
This is, I can do this a better way.
By 20 inches, so tight that he couldn't move his arms backward or lift his head to see ahead. He was followed by his sons.
I've been doing
While
this for
moving
like
forward
fucking
thanks
20
to the
minutes
mud
now. I
making
don't
the
need to do
terrain
that.
slippery, he reported back to them what was happening. Everything seemed normal until something unexpected occurred. As he pulled himself along, he realized
Done.
the ground below him was disappearing.
Okay.
Donald slipped down into a tight crevice, and the slick mud prevented him from
Whatever.
stopping his slide. His hands were trapped, leaving him no leverage to pull himself
Oh,
up.
it's not
Making
perfect,
matters
though.
worse, the path angled
On the
about 30
outside.
degrees, so he had to fight against gravity. The crevice was just 5 inches wide, and the slippery mud caused his body to settle more and more.
That was
He
pretty
told his
close.
sons
Maybe
to
I
pull
will
on his
continue
feet,
this
but
way.
after several failed attempts, he told them to get the other adult in the cave, Jim. After a while, Jim also realized they wouldn't be able to free Donald on their own. Donald explained that some rocks had loosened when he slid and were now wedging against his body. Each time they tried to pull him backward, the loose rocks would slide forward and block the passage. Jim exited the cave to call for help. Cave rescue specialists and the police arrived, and because only one person could squeeze into that narrow space at a time, they tried using ropes to free Donald. This didn't work either, so they brought in tools to try breaking some of the rocks. However, given how tight the space was, hours of work led to only small breakthroughs, and Donald's situation grew worse. He was thirsty, hungry, hungry and in a very cold environment, so hypothermia was a major concern. The cavers considered entering from the other side to give Donald food and water, but they found that the passage leading to where he laid was extremely narrow. Only two very small cavers, sisters Lynn and Nancy Taylor, were able to fit, but even then, they couldn't reach Donald's head. This meant there was no way of delivering supplies, so rescuers had to act quickly. They decided to dig from above ground, down to where Donald was stuck. The process lasted all day Sunday, getting them close to the required depth. Unfortunately, though, they were about 12 feet away from Donald's position, so they needed to dig laterally. Meanwhile, Donald began giving only grunting responses, which indicated he was likely suffering from hypothermia. On Monday morning, as 2 days passed from when he got stuck, the digging continued, but the team encountered another problem: extremely hard bedrock layers that were impossible to dig through. At this point, they weren't sure if Donald was still alive, so they sent a nurse into the cave with a handheld Doppler machine to see if he still had a pulse. She couldn't detect one, but this wasn't definitive proof of death, since she only had access to his very cold legs. Sometimes, the body's core organs can
Why would they even bother?
after the extremities have stopped registering a pulse.
You're not going to be able to tell, so...
Donald's condition was deteriorating. Rescuers started using their most extreme tools, including dynamite, which was extremely
Like, they just...
risky.
In that case, they wanted confirmation that he was alive?
They finally managed to reach his
I
location,
suppose,
and a
right?
doctor was sent in immediately,
Family
but
and
as many
stuff.
feared, Donald had died. It took an entire day to retrieve his body, and an autopsy later confirmed he had succumbed to hypothermia sometime between Sunday night and Monday morning. Following his death, the cave system was restricted to limited access. Aegean Allwed incident. Roger Solari and Martin Farr, aged 26 and 23 respectively, wanted to map out the Aegean Allwed cave system in South Wales. At the time, John Parker, another explorer, had abandoned the mission after discovering a third sump in one of its longest passages. Martin and Roger, however, wanted to keep going to see what lay beyond. The first trip was done by Martin alone, because Roger had hurt his knee, making it extremely dangerous for Martin to continue solo. Reaching the third sump was a feat in itself, since the route was not only tortuous, but also extremely long, lasting for hours, as the first sump was about a mile into the cave. The first two sumps measured only 249 feet and 82 feet, so Martin passed through them relatively easily. However, the third sump was much longer, and nobody had fully explored it yet, so Martin could only hope he had enough air to reach the end. Fortunately, he managed to swim through it, about 850 feet, and on the other side he found something else interesting, a zigzagging passage, roughly 1,800 feet long, leading to another sump. Nobody had known about this fourth sump, and Martin realized he probably wouldn't have enough air to explore it, and then return. He spent the next 4 to 5 hours heading back out, planning to wait for Roger so they could tackle Sump 4 together on the next trip. When they returned on June 15, 1974, both Roger and Martin brought extra air tanks. They successfully reached Sump 4 and began diving it with a guideline to help map the route. After about 400 feet, Roger finished his guideline, and he had sinus problems, even though it wasn't
Alright,
the first
finally.
time. Despite this, they decided to continue. Martin then took out his own guideline and they kept going, but they made an important mistake. In cave diving, there is a concept called the rule of thirds for air consumption. If you use 1/3 of your air supply on the way in, you need another third to get out, leaving the final third as an emergency reserve. They had already used their first third and should have turned back when Roger's line ran out. Because Roger had a smaller tank than Martin, Martin assumed Roger would head out while he continued forward. He eventually came to a gravel wall of rock, which could have indicated the sump was ending, and possibly an air pocket. By this point, he was well past the halfway mark of his tank, so it was becoming extremely risky. He pushed on until he reached solid rock, confirming there was no air pocket. Spotting a passage to the right, he explored another 29 feet, but it ended in a dead end. When he backtracked, he was shocked to see Roger still there. Martin quickly signaled that they had to return. Roger, likely realizing he didn't have enough air to make it back, attempted to locate the same air pocket Martin had been searching for. Martin continued about 130 feet until his main tank ran out, forcing him to switch to a reserve tank. That would give him only about 300 feet in Sump 4 and another 850 feet in Sump 3, barely enough. However, he had previously placed a partially filled tank between Sump
What is the
3
point in
and
going
Sump
to search
2,
for an
and
air
he aimed
pocket,
to
man?
reach that. Finally emerging from Sump 4,
You're not gonna be able to
Martin sat on
refill
a
your
bank,
tank.
waiting
You
for Roger,
fucking...
who, remember, had a smaller tank.
You can
If he
take a
didn't appear
breath, the
soon,
tank
it would be a
cannot.
huge problem. After
It's,
20
you're just
minutes with
adding
no
more
sign of
distance. You have
Roger,
to swim
Martin
back.
realized that if Roger had surfaced from Sump 4 at that moment, he likely wouldn't have enough air left to get through Sump 3. After an hour, Martin was certain Roger's air had run out. Martin entered the water again and tried pulling the guideline to make it tense, but it didn't. It was no longer connected. It had been cut at about the 430-foot mark. This was probably where Roger needed to change tanks. Because switching them wasn't a simple task at the time, he might have put
I
his arm
see.
through the line to
That's
avoid
why he
losing it,
wanted to.
twisted his body to reach the valve and become
That makes
tangled,
sense.
forcing him to cut the line to move freely. This, combined with the silt kicked up by movement, likely reduced his visibility, and he may have swum the wrong way. At that point, there was no doubt Roger had exhausted his air. Martin stayed calm and managed to navigate the next 3 sumps safely. He alerted the authorities immediately, and the search for Roger's body began. Martin himself joined the search, along with many others. However, Roger's remains were not found until 1986, 12 years later.
Oh,
Recovering
Jesus,
the
dude,
body
no
was
way.
deemed too risky, so it was left in the cave, and a plaque was placed near the entrance of Sump 1 in Roger's honor. In 1987, another explorer passed through Sump 4 and finally located the air pocket, 875 feet in, the very one Roger and Martin had hoped to find. It was called the Against All Odds Chamber. Martin stated that after this incident, he never broke the rule of thirds again. He went on to have a remarkable diving career. Today, the entrance to the cave system is locked, and only specific, experienced divers are granted a key. Floyd Collins Incident. In late December 1924, Floyd Collins discovered a cave called Sand Cave, which was easily accessible to tourists because it was near a highway. He quickly struck a deal with the land's owners to receive 50% of any profits from the cave's exploration. Afterward, he immediately began working there. Since there was no significant entrance, however, many tourists avoided it. As a result, Floyd spent hours every day over the next few weeks digging deeper and deeper. On January 30th, 1925, it was snowing outside, and once again, Floyd went into the cave, only to find something shocking. Crawling forward with a lantern, he reached what was known as the turnaround room, called that way because many cavers would stop there and turn around, deeming it too risky to continue. The only way to go farther was through a tiny, narrow hole called the squeeze, which measured only 9 inches in height. Floyd, however, managed to push through. Beyond the squeeze, he saw a narrow pit dropping about 10 feet. He went down feet first and reached the bottom, where he found yet another pit. Squatting down, he removed the remaining rocks and debris and finally saw an opening into the main cave. He tied a rope in place and descended an 80-foot drop. Reaching the cavern floor, he was amazed by the sight, but noticed his light was starting to dim. Wanting to avoid being left in the dark, he climbed back up the 80-foot drop and began returning, moving backwards and pushing his lantern with his shoulder. Unfortunately, his lantern slipped into a tiny hole and shattered, leaving him in total darkness. Because the cavern was extremely unstable, Floyd knew he had to move carefully to avoid dislodging loose rocks. Unable to see, however, he kicked one loose, and it fell onto his left leg, trapping him. He tried freeing himself with his right leg, but the more he moved, the more rocks tumbled down, further wedging him in place. It was 10 a.m., and he began shouting for help, hoping someone would hear him. He remained there all day, and by 9 a.m. the next morning, nearly 24 hours after he had become trapped, 2 of the cave's owners arrived with their 17-year-old son, Jewel Estes, to check on him. They saw Floyd's coat hanging outside the cave and called his name, but no one answered, so they ventured deeper. Before long, the 2 owners turned back because the passages were too tight, but Jewel continued and eventually found Floyd, who asked him to call his brothers for help. Soon, Marshall Collins, Floyd's brother, and Lee Collins, Floyd's father, reached the entrance, finding a growing crowd watching the rescue attempt. Marshall and another man went inside to widen the passage, digging carefully so as not to send loose rocks tumbling onto Floyd. At 4 p.m., Floyd's other brother
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words, create.
brother Homer arrived. Floyd had previously asked Homer to come along that day.
This is
Homer
weird.
felt
This is
guilty
just
for
how I would
refusing
spend
to
an
do his best
afternoon. I'm just doing
He
it
did
on
reach
stream.
Floyd, but a new problem emerged. The crowds outside
I suppose that's what I'll do for the near future. I'm really not sure. Like, I just spent the last fucking 20 minutes not even talking. I'm just watching a cave diving video while I draw this spooky ass fish.
Upon emerging, Homer grew furious at the huge crowd, telling people to leave if they couldn't.
It's not too
help.
bad.
However, none of them listened. Reporters began arriving, hoping to interview Homer. Tired of the questions, he told them to see for themselves inside the cave. Confusion and rumors spread. Some claimed Floyd was already dead or that the cave had collapsed entirely. Determined to prove otherwise, Marshall offered a $500,000 reward to anyone who saved his brother. As rumors spread more, however, he went in to check on Floyd himself and found him alive. Floyd managed to free one hand, suggesting they tie a rope around his chest to pull him out, but as soon as they tried, he begged them to stop, saying he felt like he was being pulled in two. Homer worked continuously, removing dirt and debris until he was utterly exhausted and needed medical attention. By Tuesday night, 95 hours after Floyd had become trapped, a reporter named Skeets entered the cave and installed a light bulb near Floyd. While removing rubble, Skeets exposed more of Floyd's legs, but still couldn't free him. His story and interview with Floyd were published, drawing even larger crowds. Hotels hotels nearby were filled, and at least 1,000 people gathered around Sand Cave. All this activity further weakened the cave walls, putting it at risk of collapse, though nobody realized it at the time, as everyone was rooting for Floyd. At hour 123, the entrance to the pit collapsed, blocking any access to Floyd and cutting off deliveries of food and water. By hour 144,
There you
a
go,
team of
that's the
workers
color.
formed to dig a new tunnel to reach him. The only way they could know if Floyd was still alive was the light bulb Skeets had installed. It was connected to another bulb outside, which would flicker when Floyd breathed. They dug relentlessly, but with no food or water reaching Floyd, combined with the cold temperature, his chances were fading quickly. By Friday, February 13th, the men had nearly reached him, and one worker reported hearing groaning about 10 feet away. However, at 1:30 a.m. on February 16th, a worker reached Floyd and found him already deceased. Initially, Floyd's body was left in the cave. After some time, though, his brother Homer arranged for its removal and gave him
Homer.
a proper burial. Nutty Putty Cave. John
Nutty
Jones,
Putty.
a young 26-year-old man, decided to explore the Nutty Putty Cave in the Utah desert near Salt Lake City. This wasn't his first caving experience, as he and his brother Josh used to explore caves around Utah, even though it was the first time he would have gone into the Nutty Putty Cave specifically. The cave was considered beginner-friendly, as it was well-mapped, and the first main parts were accessible to everyone, such as the maze or the big slide. There were also some harder areas for more experienced cavers, like the birth canal, which was an incredibly tight passage. John wasn't going alone. He went with a group of 11, including family and friends. The cave was closed off at the time because some cavers
sure.
had previously gotten stuck, but it was reopened and accessible only to those with a specific permit. Josh managed to get one, and on November 24th, 2009, they went in. Everyone stayed in the beginner-friendly areas, but John and Josh quickly got bored and started looking for the harder tunnels.
It doesn't matter, does it?
They knew about the birth canal, one of the tightest passages in the cave, which, after the narrowest part, had a room where they could stand up and turn around to head back.
Oh.
They ventured into the narrow passages of the cave, and at one point, they reached an area called the corkscrew, named that way because of how hard it was to get through. It was after the corkscrew that cavers would normally turn around.
Okay.
5 years before,
I guess
an
because
accident
it's
had happened
just
in
black,
the
right?
exact spot. A
Yeah.
16-year-old boy named Brock Clark got stuck there.
This is
though
the
he
one I
was
need to
just
mess
5
with.
feet 7 inches tall and weighed only 140 pounds. He had to wait a whole 14 hours before getting freed.
Oh.
John, however,
Well,
was
I
6
can't do
feet
that.
tall and weighed 200 pounds, so he clearly knew he couldn't turn around to go back in that specific part of the tunnel. In a space only 12 inches high, he squeezed his stomach in and kept moving forward until he got to a point where he was headfirst at a downward angle. It looked like there was an area ahead where he could finally turn around, so he kept going in. But what he didn't know was that beyond that ledge, the area was uncharted. No one had been there before him. He still thought he was in some part of the birth canal, and since he knew many cavers felt stuck just like he was, but eventually found a place to turn around, he continued on. After a while, however, he started sliding toward the bottom of the tunnel, almost doing a handstand to hold on and try to push himself back up. He immediately yelled to his brother to stop, and they started discussing what they should do, as John's arms were starting to lose strength. They decided to move forward just a little more, and then turn around, because John saw a hole in the floor ahead that he thought might lead to a larger space. What he didn't realize, however, was that it was just a dead-end opening at the bottom of the tunnel. So once he went in, he was stuck in a vertical position, upside down. The opening was just 18 by 10 inches, and any effort to get out proved useless, so he screamed for help. His brother Josh came in feet first and squeezed one of John's legs with his own, trying to pull him out. This also didn't work, and after Josh became exhausted, they decided that he would exit the cave to call for help. John waited there upside down, and gravity kept pushing him further into the opening, with his chest getting compressed against the walls, allowing him to take only small breaths. The first rescuer arrived after 3 hours. She had a rope tied to her ankle, so she could be pulled back out while she put another rope around John's legs to try to pull him out. This also didn't work, so they decided to install a pulley system, which was much stronger than just a human pull, and it was what had gotten Brock Clark free 5 years prior. However, this required a lot of time, since each piece of equipment had to be brought through the entire cave, which took nearly an hour. Also, only one assistant at a time could be there, and only small tools could be brought in. After spending the whole night there, John's body was starting to show the signs of being upside down for more than 12 hours. He had been completely lucid up to that point, but now he was starting to lose his sanity, hallucinating. The oxygen concentration in the air was also dropping lower and lower. During this time, they brought in a device that allowed him to speak with his wife, who encouraged him to hang on. John assured her that he would be out with her soon. Around 4 o'clock, the pulleys were ready, so rescuer Ryan Schurz, who was inside the cave, grabbed John's legs and they activated the pulley. John started screaming in agony as his legs turned blue and no longer had a pulse, telling them to stop. After a brief pause to let him calm down, they tried again, and it seemed to be working. John rose high enough that Ryan was able to make eye contact with him and give him some Gatorade through a tube. His situation was still very bad, however, as his lifeless legs were hitting the ceiling and blocking him from getting out of the hole. They were strongly considering breaking his legs, as time was really starting to run out. Then, the rope holding the pulley broke, pulling everything toward Ryan's face and injuring his face, lips, tongue, and causing a concussion. He lost consciousness briefly, and when he woke up, he immediately left the cave. Meanwhile, John had slipped back into the hole, and it took another hour to repair the pulley. When they tried pulling him out once more, John wasn't responding. Since it would have been impossible to lift him without his help, they sent a medic inside the cave to check whether he was still alive. At 11:56 on November 25th, John Jones was declared dead. The entire cave system was then closed off with concrete, and they placed a plaque to commemorate
Why don't I just raise this to the top?
Judan Cave. Two friends, Wang Yuan and Wang Tao, were highly experienced divers who wanted to enter Judan Cave in China to break their own personal depth record. Someone had previously placed a guideline that extended for 525 feet, but they wanted to extend it by another 35 feet, aiming for a total depth of 558 feet. This plan would require them to leave the existing guideline for some time, and because those depths are already dangerous, doing so would have significantly increased the risk. However, they were not only diving experts in general, but also had already completed
do
dives
this.
in the cave's northern entrance, so they felt quite confident. They even decided to do a practice dive in open water to reach 500 feet, just to see what it would be like and identify potential problems. Unfortunately, Tao had to skip the practice dive due to illness, so Yuan went alone, and everything went smoothly. On April 18th, 2014, after months of preparation, they decided it was time to begin their dive. They estimated it would take about 20 minutes to reach their target depth, and they would only be able to stay there for a few minutes before starting their ascent. Even just a few extra minutes at those depths would require many additional hours of decompression. They also estimated it would take about 3 hours and 50 minutes to get back to the surface safely, allowing enough time for the pressure to not be too hard on their bodies. Time
It is. It's not on my screen. What? What is that?
They noticed
Why is that there?
visibility was greatly reduced
It's in
because
this?
of the rainfall
Okay.
in the days prior, but they decided it was not bad enough to postpone
No.
the dive. Under normal conditions, divers could usually see about 50 feet ahead, but on that day,
Man.
visibility was only about 6.5 feet. As extra safety measures, they had previously placed air tanks at various depths, each containing the appropriate gas mixture for that depth. Additionally, a friend named Pei stayed near the cave's
Okay,
surface
there you
to
go.
assist if needed.
Jesus.
Yuan's role was to keep them on the guideline, while Tao's role was to place arrow markers along the line to indicate the direction back to the cave entrance. At such extreme depths, having the correct gas mixture is crucial because both nitrogen and oxygen can become problematic under high pressure. They followed all the guidelines carefully, switching tanks at the appropriate depths. However, around 538 feet, Yuan suddenly felt as though he might lose consciousness. Realizing they needed to ascend to counter these symptoms, and considering they were only 13 feet beyond the established guideline, with visibility around half that distance, they turned back toward the line and the surface. Yuan led them to where the guideline should have been, but they were met with a terrifying situation. The guideline was gone. They searched desperately, hoping to feel or spot it, and eventually found it. But now, there was another problem. Their panic at losing the line had caused them to breathe faster, which consumed more gas than normal. By the time they rediscovered the line, Yuan's cylinder for that depth was nearly empty, so he had to switch back to his main tank, which contained surface air. This was far from ideal. Although he initially felt okay, around the 393-foot mark, he began trembling involuntarily. They desperately needed to reach their next set of cylinders, which were at 243 feet, about 150 feet away. Yuan still had hope until he looked down and saw Tao stuck under a rock. Because of the low visibility, Tao had accidentally swam into the rock and gotten wedged there. Yuan also noticed that Tao wasn't attempting to free himself, but was instead shining his light at his neck, signaling that he was running out of air. Yuan immediately gave Tao an emergency mouthpiece, and Tao freed himself. They resumed their ascent with very little air left, sharing what remained. After some quick calculations, they realized they had roughly 3 minutes of air before it would be gone. Tao was extremely fatigued, and Yuan had to pull him by the arm. When they were about 300 feet from the surface, Yuan checked his air supply again and saw there was only enough for one person to ascend another 130 feet. Fortunately, about 50 feet away were the next set of cylinders they had placed earlier. Suddenly, Yuan saw Tao float past him, rising upward and disappearing in the murky water. Yuan knew Tao must have lost consciousness because he made no attempt to hold on. Yuan swam after him as quickly as he could, but he couldn't see Tao anywhere. With his tank about to run dry, he had to reach the next set of cylinders before searching again. He quickly got to those cylinders, switched tanks, and went back to look for Tao. As he descended once more, he still couldn't find him. His new tank began to run low, so he had to ascend again to the next set of cylinders. Unfortunately, those cylinders were placed at a higher depth because they were meant for use in shallower water, and they would be extremely dangerous to use at deeper depths. If someone were to use those tanks and descend too far, they would risk nitrogen narcosis, a state similar to drunkenness, as nitrogen is absorbed too rapidly. Despite this risk, Yuan still tried to go deeper in search of Tao. At some point, he lost consciousness briefly, and although he woke up moments later, it was the warning sign that he needed to get out immediately. He attempted to follow the necessary decompression stops on the way up, but in his panicked and weakened state, he ascended faster than he should have, stopping for about 3 hours instead of the nearly 4 hours required. Upon surfacing, Yuan immediately told Pei what had happened. Shocked, Pei dove in to search for Tao, but soon realized Yuan might also be in serious trouble because of his rapid ascent. Matter of fact, when Pei returned to the surface, he found Yuan showing symptoms of both nitrogen narcosis and decompression sickness. As soon as Yuan removed his regulator, he began vomiting and twitching, experiencing severe dizziness. They had no choice but to abandon the immediate search for Tao in order to get Yuan urgent medical help. By this time, Yuan was in agonizing pain, especially in his legs.
One wiener or two? I'm gonna say two. I could use a wiener. I need I'm hungry.
Day to plan and gather the correct tanks for those depths. By then, it was almost certain that Tao had died, and the following day, his lifeless body was found at a depth of 176 feet. Yuan spent several days in a decompression chamber, but ultimately made a full recovery. Kalimba Cave Tragedy.
Alright. This is turning out okay. I'm not entirely sure. Wait, no, Protect Alpha isn't what I wanted. I wanted this. Yeah, no. This one? There we go. What? What the fuck? Okay. Oopsies. No.
It was December 2004,
I need that.
and 9 divers were about to enter the Kalimba cenote for the second time
It's too
while
useful.
on vacation in Mexico. Their plan was to follow the guidelines to the
I
box
can't just give it
cenote
up.
before turning back. They split into 2 groups. The first would go ahead and set markers to
Gets me
highlight
out of a
the
lot of
correct
tight
path, while the
spaces.
second would follow. Since the first group had more efficient oxygen tanks, they planned to go
I need to
farther
piss.
before returning,
It's
while
there.
the second group would start heading back earlier. As Team 2 was
I
expected
need something to make me uncomfortable for months at a time during the summer.
Seeing that the cookies
It's
were
there.
gone, Team 1 would then remove their own markers on the way back,
I
ensuring
need to
the
be
team remained
inordinately itchy.
Everything went according to plan.
My
Team
entire
1,
day. I
noticing
just
the
really
absence of
need to.
players, began their ascent. But
It's
when
there.
They surfaced, Team 2 was nowhere
No.
to be found. They searched the area for 30 minutes
Shut
but
up.
found no sign of them. Regrouping at the Kalimba cenote, they geared up to re-enter the tunnel and search for them. By this point, Team 2 had little oxygen left, but suddenly, bubbles appeared in the water, and 2 divers quickly resurfaced. They immediately began explaining what had happened underwater. Instead of following the intended exit path, Team 2 had mistakenly turned left. The return trip should have been short, but they only realized their mistake after swimming 1,400 feet in the wrong direction. By the time they noticed,
So
they were
this is
nearly
cool,
3,000
but
feet
I'm
from the
not.
original exit. However, another
I'm not
exit
certain
was
how to
just
take it
300
to the
feet away.
level I
Reaching
want.
it posed a serious challenge. They needed to cross a 70-foot gap with no guidelines, making it a dangerous risk of getting lost. Kent, one of the divers, took out his safety line, secured it, and began swimming across. He was just short of reaching the guideline when his line stopped him. It was too short to cover the long gap. Time was running out, and turning back, Kent saw the rest of the group heading
Hi,
toward the
Morrow.
initial path,
Are you?
so he swam
You ready
fast to
now?
catch up. By then, their oxygen levels were critically low, and with no air pockets in the
I'm
cave,
not
the
fully
situation
done
was
with this
becoming
yet,
life-threatening.
but
After 25 minutes of swimming, they finally reached
That's
the correct
good.
line. A 30-minute swim
Awesome.
still lay between them and the exit. Bill's oxygen was nearly gone, with only 200 psi left. He moved next to Jean, who had more air, and she shared hers using her emergency extra mouthpiece. The situation was so bad that in tight
well,
passages,
let
Bill had
me
to
put a
hold his
little
breath
more
while
work into
Jean
this.
squeezed through first. Then Michael also began running dangerously low on air. Seeing that Jean and Bill were already sharing and could not help
I
him, he
might
panicked. He was
want to
the
put the
least
idea in my
experienced
head
His
to
tank
roast a
was almost
wiener,
empty.
so I might make a hot dog
Kent reached him in time,
or some
handed
kind of
him
lunch.
his
I had a
emergency
bagel, but
mouthpiece and tried to calm him down.
I'm a
Meanwhile,
little hungry.
Jean and Bill made it out with just 500 psi left in
And
Jean's
then
tank. Had they
I'll
been
be
delayed
back
just a few
and we'll
more
play
minutes,
Golden
they
Light.
would have drowned. They immediately informed the others that Michael and Kent were behind them. Their lights had been visible just before they exited. The remaining divers quickly re-entered the tunnel, hoping to find them in time. Just 250 feet inside, they spotted Michael and Kent's lights. But something was wrong. They weren't moving. As they got closer, the truth became clear. Both had run out of oxygen and drowned just 5 minutes from the exit. William Coughlin. It was May 28, 1993, when 26-year-old William Coughlin, with a newfound passion for caving, decided to visit a cave in Kentucky with his friends James and Kevin. The cave was divided into two sections: the historic tour, which was accessible to most visitors, and the more dangerous wild tour, reserved for experienced and daring people. After completing the easier historic tour, the guide asked if they wanted to proceed with the more challenging
This
wild
one?
tour.
Yeah,
Once
this
they
one.
agreed,
Okay.
they were required to sign a document acknowledging the risks involved and absolving the operators of any responsibility. This should have been the first red flag.
Yeah.
Kevin decided
All
to
right,
opt
great.
out, returning to the safer area. The remaining group, now consisting of William, James, and 4 other participants, was led by the guide into the wild tour. He stressed the importance of staying close and reminded them of the potential dangers. As they descended into the lower sections of the cave, they encountered a 30-foot hanging cable ladder with wooden rungs. After climbing down and going a bit forward, there was a second, shorter ladder, about 20 feet long, positioned over a rocky outcrop. At the bottom of the second ladder, the guide informed the group that the official tour had ended. He mentioned they could explore nearby passages if they wished, but noted that they were running behind schedule and that he needed to step away briefly for a phone call. He left the group at the base of the ladder, and this is when William decided to explore a passage he had noticed earlier. He discussed it with James, who agreed, and William attempted to climb back up the second ladder. However, the climb proved difficult. He was 6 feet tall and weighed 220 pounds. Struggling to ascend, William decided to wait for the guide instead. As time passed and the guide didn't return, William attempted to climb the ladder again. Tragically, halfway up, he lost his grip and fell violently, striking his head on a protruding rock before landing hard on the ground. Blood began pooling from his head, and James rushed to help him. Although William remained
that's
conscious,
rough.
he was delirious and visibly stunned. When the guide finally returned, he instructed the group to climb back out the way they came. However, William's condition made this impossible. James, frustrated, demanded the guide call a cave rescue team, but the guide dismissed the idea, insisting that the group work together to get William out. James began to suspect the guide was avoiding involving authorities, perhaps to prevent panic among other visitors. The group decided their best option was to bypass the second ladder entirely and take an alternative route through a narrow, previously mapped corridor, not part of the official tour. With teamwork, they
There we
managed
go.
to navigate
That
the
looks
issues,
okay.
carrying William with them.
Starting to.
However, the real challenge came when they reached a rough, sharp V-shaped passage, which made gripping difficult. When it was William's turn, he went in head first, but his size made it an extremely tight fit. Halfway through, he became stuck and realized he couldn't move forward or backward. Trapped in a horizontal position with his arms pinned beneath him, he began to panic. The tightness of the passage compressed his chest, making it difficult for him to breathe. The group's attempts to pull him out were futile. As panic set in, the guide instructed James to exit the cave and inform the owner of the situation. James rushed to the surface, but the owner appeared reluctant to involve authorities. The guide, finally recognizing the severity of the situation, went out to get a medkit and to call for emergency services. It took 3 hours for rescue
Oh,
and
you gotta
medical
do that,
personnel
huh?
to arrive. Meanwhile, James stayed by William's side.
This guy is like...
William's responses grew slower and more slurred until he eventually stopped.
This man, who was a father to 93 orphans, was torn apart by 400 stalactites, and then they placed a burning coil right next to his head to slowly melt his brains. Next, they sent a man in from the back to tie him up and pull his entire head off. Well, the guy from the back drew silly faces all over his corpse. And you're making jokes about how they're making innuendos.
When 21-year-old Robert
Okay, yeah.
set out on what was supposed to be a normal overnight camping
You're playing I Spy with innuendos, and this guy is dying the most painful death possible.
gathered around a campfire and discussed the nearby cave, sharing legends and stories about its mysterious reputation. The next morning, as they were packing up to head home, their curiosity about the cave got the better of them. The cave was largely unmapped, adding an air of intrigue, so Robert proposed a quick exploration. Ben, however, had to leave early for work, so he headed back home, leaving Robert and Richard to decide for themselves. Robert and Richard entered the cave through its relatively large main entrance without much difficulty. Inside, Robert
You're so
spotted one of the
creative.
roomy side passages they had been talking about and decided to explore it. The narrow passage was too tight for more than one person,
there you go.
so Richard decided to wait outside the cave. Robert promised not to go too deep and assured Richard he'd be
Oh
back
yeah,
soon.
that looks
As
better.
Robert crawled forward, he encountered a section of the cave
I
that was about
need
150
just
feet
more
long and full of
detailing with
tight
darker
curves,
reds,
making progress
and I
toward it.
think this
The
whole
real
thing will
trouble
come together
began when
real
he reached
nice.
a particular point called the keyhole formation. This section was especially dangerous because it was impossible to exit legs, first once passed. Unaware of this, Robert continued forward, but when the passage narrowed even further, he decided it was time to turn back. Returning to the keyhole formation, Robert realized something terrible. He couldn't pass through it feet first. His only option was to move forward through the even tighter crevice, hoping the cave would widen enough beyond it for him to turn around. What he didn't know was that the crevice sloped downward at a 30-degree angle. Exhausted, Robert squeezed through the space, exhaling all the air from his lungs just to fit. After several pushes, he reached a horrifying realization. He was stuck. Gravity was working against him, and every attempt to move only worsened his situation. Desperate, Robert began yelling for help, but Richard, waiting outside the cave, couldn't hear him. Worried after some time, Richard ventured into the cave by himself, though he had no flashlight because Robert had taken the only one. Crawling in complete darkness, Richard called out for Robert, who immediately yelled back, letting him know he was trapped and struggling to breathe. Realizing he couldn't reach his stepbrother in the pitch black, Richard left the cave to call for help, and about an hour later, a team of 10 rescuers arrived and began assessing the situation. The primary problem was Robert's location. He was trapped in an extremely deep area, approximately 150 feet from the cave's main entrance. This meant that drilling a shaft from above wasn't an option, so the only way to reach him was through the inside of the cave. The rescuers themselves began experiencing breathing difficulties due to the tight space, so they installed a ventilation system to pump warm air into the passages. Only one rescuer could work at a time due to the cave's tightness, and armed with manual tools, they began trying to widen the keyhole formation. However, the lack of space severely limited their maneuverability, and time was running out. Robert's breathing became more difficult, and he eventually stopped cooperating, making faint gurgling sounds, a sign of potential suffocation. After hours of effort, the rescuers
Really?
managed
You think
to
that would be
excavate the
suffocation?
keyhole formation and reach Robert's feet. Though unconscious, they felt a faint pulse, which gave them enough hope to try to get him out as quickly as possible. They immediately tried to pull him free, but unfortunately, the attempt failed. A pulley system was considered, but the cave's limestone and gypsum walls were too fragile to support the tension. With no other options,
Is that sexy? Is that an innuendo of some kind?
when they finally freed Robert, they rushed
Being
him
immobile?
outside, where paramedics were waiting. Tragically,
I don't think that's inherently
after 5
sexual.
hours of relentless rescue operations, Robert Kennedy was pronounced dead. Black Cave Tragedy.
Are you enjoying the cave videos, Vana? I didn't realize. Are you following along? I suppose, yeah.
Vistaprint prints everything to get
How about
your
you,
brand
Mario?
in
Are
front
you
of
into
your
this?
fans, like t-shirts, water bottles, and totes, so everyone can gift it, work, and
Whoa.
In April 1995,
All right.
Thomas Edward Benning decided to visit Black Cave in Arizona. Having explored the cave before, he felt confident that this would be a relatively safe trip. He entered the cave alone, equipped only with an electric miner's lamp and no helmet. The first part of the cave was familiar to him, and he navigated it without any issues. However, at one point, he noticed a secret side passage that caught his attention. Drawn by curiosity, Thomas strayed from the main route he usually took and began exploring the darker, narrower passage. After venturing deeper into the unfamiliar passage for some time, Thomas decided it was time to turn back. But to his growing concern, he realized that an hour had passed and he was completely lost. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't retrace his steps to the familiar route. As panic began to set in, his situation worsened. His lamp started to flicker and eventually went out, leaving him in total darkness, miles underground. With no source of light, Thomas turned to his last resort, a box of matches. Striking one, he managed to create a faint glow that barely illuminated the rocks around him. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. He continued forward, using one match after another, but the matches burned out quickly, and soon he ran out entirely, leaving him once again surrounded by absolute darkness. Despite the circumstances, Thomas refused to give up. He devised
You
a
know,
plan
this
to leave
doesn't look
behind
too
small,
bad.
useless items as
I just wanted
avoid
to.
circling back to
I
the
can't
same
have the
spot.
teeth being like ugly and not
utterly
precise.
exhausted, he pressed
I mean,
on
it.
until he encountered
They're not
a fissure,
perfect.
a narrow crack in the rock
Maybe I
barely
could be
4
more
feet
precise.
deep.
I could
Believing this might be his only only
I
chance
could
to
make
reconnect
bigger
with
tracing
Marky
over
around
the
or find a
edge,
larger
or I
mark,
could just
he
be better
decided to
with the
enter
colors.
it
I think a
first. As he
combination of
lowered
both
himself
is the
into
method.
gap, his hips dropped below the narrowest point, and he
I just
suddenly
need it to
realized
be
his mistake.
obvious
He was
where teeth
completely
begin and
wedged.
end.
His hips were firmly stuck between the rock walls, rendering him immobile. Using every last ounce of his strength, Thomas tried to lift himself back up, but it was no use. He was now trapped, alone, in the dark, with no one able to hear him. Days passed, and Thomas remained in the same position, growing weaker with each passing moment. Back home, his wife grew increasingly worried when he failed to return. She contacted the police, who began an extensive search of the caves in the area. Unfortunately, Thomas hadn't told anyone exactly which cave he planned to visit, leaving rescuers to search blindly. Miraculously, rescuers eventually spotted his car parked near Black Cave. A rescue team entered the cave, carefully exploring all the mapped sections. They found some of Thomas's belongings, including his glasses and shirt, but they missed the secret side passage he had ventured into. Amazingly, Thomas was still alive at this point, though his condition was rapidly deteriorating. Days passed, and with no further progress, authorities unfortunately called off the search. Thomas was officially declared missing. Refusing to give up, his wife continued pleading with authorities to resume the search. She distributed flyers around the city and reached out to anyone who might have information, but unfortunately, she wouldn't have known about her husband for a long time. It wasn't until December 1996, over a year and a half later, that 3 other cavers exploring Black Cave stumbled upon Thomas's remains in the dark, narrow passage where he had become trapped. Zacaton Sinkhole Incident. On April 6, 1994, diving legend Shek
I want to
Exley,
make it
the
move
first
somehow.
person in the
Like, I
world
want to
log
animate
over
it a little
100
bit,
cave
but I'm
dives,
really
set
not
out
sure
to
what the
make a
best
new
method of
getaway.
doing that
His
is.
goal was to dive through the Zacaton Sinkhole in Mexico, one of the deepest water-filled sinkholes in the world, plunging over
Viral
1,000
pack is so
feet.
weird.
Shek's passion for deep diving began at a young age when he and his brother would compete to see how deep they could go. Tragically, during one such competition, his brother lost consciousness at around 50 feet and drowned. Despite this,
Like,
Shek
what if I
pursued his
did
love
this?
for diving, becoming an expert. For context, the average diver is advised not to descend deeper than 150 feet, with 300 feet considered the absolute limit for experienced divers. Accompanied by fellow diver Jim Bowden, Shek meticulously prepared for the record-breaking dive. The event drew TV reporters who wanted to witness this extraordinary feat. As the 2 divers descended into the Zacaton
So I could
sinkhole,
do
they
this.
wished each
I
other
could
luck. Although diving together,
take
their
this
dives would be
thing
independent. Exley had trained for this
and
attempt, pushing his limits in previous dives.
I think I can animate this slightly. Like, maybe if I'll just make the arm twitch or something.
Astonishing depth of 863 feet, but experienced alarming symptoms. He began hallucinating, and his body trembled uncontrollably.
I
which
don't
are
know.
classic
I don't know what
signs
to
of
do.
high-pressure nervous syndrome, or HPNS. HPNS typically manifests at depths beyond 500 feet and is believed to result from the compression of
Like, I
cell
want to
membranes
tween
in
it.
the
That's what I
central
want to
nervous
do.
system. The condition can cause confusion, tremors, and even hallucinations.
If I had,
making it
what's it
incredibly
called? If I
dangerous
had,
for divers at those
not
depths. To
Premiere,
mitigate these
but
risks,
After
Shek and
Effects, this
Bowden
would be
planned
much
to descend
easier.
slowly,
That's what this
carefully
is. This is
switching
an
to
After
actions to
Effects
reach deeper
project.
depths. For the first stretch of their dive,
Shit.
everything went smoothly. However, problems began to arise at around 800
I don't know.
feet. Bowden noticed slight trembling in his hands, an early warning sign of HPNS. At 900 feet, Bowden encountered another issue. His air supply was running critically low. His tank pressure had dropped to 1,080 psi, far below the expected 1,800 psi needed to ensure a safe ascent. Keep in mind that decompression, depending on how deep the divers go, can take up to hours, which meant that Bowden was now in a life or death situation. Realizing the danger, Bowden began his ascent immediately, hoping he could make it back to the surface in time. Exley, however, was in even greater trouble. At around 800,
Maybe it'll just be a still. I guess it can be. It's not a big deal.
HPNS symptoms, combined with nitrogen narcosis, which is a condition akin to being drunk caused by high-pressure nitrogen, began impairing his ability to think clearly. To steady himself, Exley wrapped his descent line around his arms, but his symptoms worsened, causing him to breathe more rapidly and deplete his air supply at an alarming rate. In a desperate move, he switched tanks, but at such depths, this was not ideal. Disoriented and overwhelmed by his symptoms, Exley became unable to think straight or move. Bowden, ascending cautiously, noticed Exley's descent line with unused tanks still attached. While concerned, he assumed Exley might have successfully reached the sinkhole's bottom and was making his way back up slowly. However, on the surface, the support team grew suspicious. They observed bubbles rising to the surface.
Here's what I'm gonna do.
Only from one diver, Bowden.
I want to take those apart, and I'm going to
she decided to descend to 200.
Oh man, this is gonna be so much. I don't. I should have planned this out before, I guess, but I just wanted to draw.
Upon closer inspection,
I'm going to remove the color.
Diving profile, tools he had used to meticulously plan his dive. The realization was devastating. Sheck was stuck somewhere deep below. Nearly 10 hours.
And I'm gonna export this.
Bowden miraculously surfaced, surviving.
This is gonna be Inktober 4.
Exley, however, a hero that had previously saved numerous other divers, remained in the.
We can put it in off stills. I should make an Inktober folder.
Team pulled his descent line to the surface, bringing Exley's lifeless body with it. Jim Bowden reached an extraordinary depth of 915 feet during the dive, setting a world record for open circuit scuba diving. The Manchester Hole tragedy. In November 2005, 14-year-old Joseph Lister,
I'll get rid of that and then add back the other ones.
School, his math teacher, and a 17-year-old caver volunteer who knew the cave system well, decided to explore the Nidderdale Caves in North Yorkshire, England. The cave system is famous for its 20 entrances, and the group chose to enter
no, I need.
a small opening in the ground.
Yeah, not this one. I just want this there.
About the size of a football field, with a few inches of water on the floor and a 50-foot high ceiling hung with stalactites. After passing through, they entered a tunnel and climbed down.
I don't care. The caps lock is on.
A second, smaller chamber that still held all 11 students and had shallow water. The tunnel then narrowed sharply, forcing them to crawl on hands and knees for 40 feet through twisting passages. At the bottom, a muddy stream soaked their clothes, but led to a small chamber where they could stand again.
I can give it some movement without
reached the small
animating
chamber,
it normally.
the guide became very worried because the water level was much higher than usual, something he had never seen before. Even though it was cold and windy outside,
Maybe I should stick to face spray in the future. I'm getting more used to it, and I want to animate everything. I just was like, this is a complicated still piece, right?
Soon reaching above the knees of some students. The guide, confused by the sudden flooding, knew they had to get out quickly, so they decided to retreat. The math teacher went first, followed by the students, one by one, taking the small passage back to the previous chamber. At one point, the teacher and 9 of the students were inside the tunnel when a sudden surge of cold water flooded the chamber. The guide, along with Amy and Joseph, were the last to exit the chamber and enter the tunnel. The tunnel was crowded
and I can keep using this as a reference.
Millions of students
Oh, that's pretty cool though. But whatever.
Loop earplugs can fix that. With them, you're able to zone in immediately, whether in your cafeteria or in your dorm room with noisy neighbors. Finish your studies with complete focus for the best grades, all without having these nasty foamies in your ears.
So true.
Realizing the danger, the guide, Amy, and Joseph went back to the previous chamber to catch their breath, but the water kept rising and they were nearly submerged. Taking a deep breath, they re-entered the tunnel. This time, the tunnel was clear enough for them to move. The guide led the way, with Amy and Joseph following closely. However, in the previous chamber, the guide pushed Amy out to safety, but Joseph never made it out. The water continued to rise, even in the chamber. The guide tried to go back for Joseph, but the math teacher insisted on taking the other 10 students to safety. Tragically, Joseph drowned in the narrow tunnel, where there was no air. After the incident, the group went to the surface to alert emergency personnel, and they emerged under a blue sky with strong winds, but not a single drop of rain. It was later revealed that strong winds had blown water out of the nearby Scar House Reservoir that day. Thousands of gallons of water were forced into the river below, causing it to rise 4 feet in just 1 hour. This surge of water drained directly into the cave system. Normally, water slowly trickles through and seeps into the groundwater, but that day the huge volume overwhelmed the cave's ability to drain, triggering flash flooding throughout the system in just a few minutes. Cave rescuers arrived within 20 minutes after being called. By then, the water had already receded to below their knees. They found the lifeless body of Joseph Lister in the narrow tunnel before the final chamber. Neil Moss incident. It was Sunday, March 22nd, 1959, when 20-year-old Oxford philosophy student Oscar Neil Moss, along with 7 other people, 4 of whom were part of the British Caving Association, decided to visit Peak Cavern in the village of Castleton, Derbyshire. The cave system was well known. However, 2 weeks earlier, the same 4 BCA explorers had discovered a new fissure in a side chamber that was 1,000 feet deep. The 8 explorers entered the cave system in the afternoon. They were equipped with ropes, lamps, helmets, and other necessary caving materials. Upon entering, they discovered the Mucky Ducks section, a wet squeeze tunnel that was frequently flooded after rain. This led them to the Boulder Passage, an easier section where they could stand upright while descending and maneuver around various obstructions. Approximately 493 feet into the passage, a 10-foot climb on the north wall of the upper gallery awaited them. High above the steep, muddy slopes was Pickering Passage, a long, narrow crawl space where you had to stretch your whole body to move through. It concluded with an awkward bend and a muddy sump. Above the eye hole, just large enough to accommodate a human body, laid the next challenge. It led to a thigh-deep, muddy pool that connected to the stalagmite chamber, a vast, beautiful part of the cave filled with stalagmites, with a ceiling high enough for a person to stand upright. Despite their fatigue, they approached the newly discovered fissure in the ground. The shaft measured around 3.2 feet by 2.3 feet. None had ventured all the way down there, but it was estimated to be at least 40 feet deep. To be safe, they decided to deploy a 250 feet climbing ladder, and Neil volunteered to go down. He started to descend around 3:30 p.m.,
What?
pushing the ladder before
No.
continuing. He went down
I'm not
12
replacing
feet
it.
when he met his first challenge,
Okay,
a corkscrew
whatever.
twist. He succeeded in pushing himself into a 10-foot long,
Is that?
slightly
It better not
inclined
give me an
passageway, and then
MDP.
crawled through it, pushing the ladder as he went. Afterwards, he came
I
face
swear to
face
God,
with a
okay.
vertical passageway 18
What the
feet
fuck?
deep, a section none had ventured into before. Throughout his descent, he maintained
I need a
constant
PNG.
communication with his team above. Excited, Moss dropped further down the tunnel,
Okay.
but unfortunately, he met a boulder there. He knew he couldn't continue descending, so he decided to climb back up. Unfortunately, Moss found himself unable to lift his feet sufficiently to ascend the ladder. He became trapped in an elliptical crevice only 18 inches wide. He called out
Oh.
for assistance, and despite
Oh,
efforts to
it's
lift
because
him
it
by
doesn't have a
pulling on the
background,
ladder,
okay.
it became jammed between the cave surface and his body. Ropes were lowered to help him, but every time they tried to pull him up, they either snapped or got cut by the sharp edge of the rock. His body ended up blocking air from getting into the shaft, so he needed to be rescued immediately before he ran out of oxygen. Some of the cavers left to seek more help. Within a few hours, hundreds of volunteers from across England, along with the Royal Air Force, police, and even the Navy, joined the rescue efforts. Just a few hours after Moss became trapped in the shaft, the rescuers encountered another obstacle. By this time, the air in the shaft had become polluted by carbon dioxide. Moss became disoriented because of it, and he began behaving irrationally. Witnesses said that he wasn't helping at all, that he didn't seem to care about how serious the situation was, and that he even told the rescuers to take a break to get something to eat. Experienced cavers were sent down the shaft to rescue Moss, but one by one, they were forced back by the toxic air. 3 of the volunteers even lost consciousness. Finally, the 4th volunteer, Ron Peters, managed to secure a rope around Moss's chest and began to pull. However, he soon realized that this only worsened Moss's breathing difficulties. The Royal Air Force brought oxygen tanks to ventilate the shaft, and although the quality of air was marginally improved, it proved to be insufficient. The next morning, 18-year-old June Bailey arrived and suggested breaking Neil's collarbone to help rescue him. However, the toxic air stopped all their efforts, and they had to turn back. By Monday afternoon, roughly 24 hours after Moss entered the cave, he was still breathing, but it started to rain, and the entire cave was evacuated as a precaution. When it stopped, the rescuers went back to the shaft accompanied by a Royal Air Force doctor. They did not hear a sound. Moss was not breathing, and he was declared dead on Tuesday, March 24th, 1959. Throughout the ordeal, Moss's father, Eric Moss, stayed at the entrance and asked that his son's body remain where it was to avoid risking further injury or loss of life during the rescue. The shaft was sealed with rocks from the stalagmite chamber. That chamber, which held the shaft, later became known as the Moss Chamber, his final resting place. The Manatee Springs Cave diving tragedy. On March 14, 2022, a couple of friends, William and Harry, and their respective fathers, George and Jack, decided to visit the Manatee Springs State Park in Florida to do some cave diving. At Manatee Springs State Park, divers need to have full
I
cave
don't know.
diving certification.
This ain't working as
and
well as
must
I
dive with
thought.
a partner who has previous diving experience at Manatee in order to access the cave area. All 4 divers had only the intro to
I
cave
made a
diving
really shitty
certification,
pattern, didn't
not the
I?
full one. The Manatee Springs system is known for its 4 entry points. Manatee Springs, mainly for open water divers, Catfish
It's
Hotel,
because of
Sioux
fucking-
Sink, and Freedman's Sink. The cave tunnels below these points
Hold
extend
on,
for
let's fix
thousands
this.
of
Yeah,
feet,
you
but
can't
only
be on the
Freedman's Sink
ground.
and Catfish
That doesn't
Hotel
work.
have an entrance pool for cave divers. The system is called a siphon because water flows like a river from a distant entry point and naturally comes out at Manatee Springs. Due to this flow, cave divers
And
typically
this doesn't
enter at
look
one
good
point
'cause they're
and
all the
exit
same
downstream at
size.
another. This type of dive, known as a traverse, is more challenging because divers must know 2 pathways instead of just 1. Entering a siphon and a traverse system was only allowed for full certified cave divers. Regardless, they decided to enter the system at Freedman's Sink and planned to exit at Catfish Hotel. They started their dive at 11:17 a.m., each diver equipped with 2 air tanks, both filled to 3,800 psi. Since the tunnels were about 100 feet deep, roughly 4 atmospheres of pressure, the air was compressed to 1/4 of its original volume and consumed at 4 times the surface rate. They all carried both primary and backup light sources, as well as dive computers to track their depth, heart rate, movement, and time. Additionally, William and Harry had a GoPro in their head to document the entire dive.
Peter Piper's pepper picking proved painful. So he ordered the supplies he needed from Amazon Business. And positively prospered. Amazon Business. Your
Man, I do not care.
I lost a lot of weight.
Whatever.
None of my clothes fit right anymore.
Okay.
My Stitch Fix stylist, Stephanie.
Let's
she
try
nailed
again.
it. Let me show you how she got it right. You just go on there and you take that styling quiz, and all of these items get shipped directly.
Alright, that's the dots. Yeah, here, let's just shut this one up for a minute.
Berry hoodie. It's super, super soft. This is the Commerce short sleeve button-up sweater t-shirt. You just keep what you want, and then you return what you don't want or like. Stitch Fix is your way to go. Get your fix. Take the Stitch Fix style quiz today.
William and Harry took the lead, with their dads following closely behind. The gentle pull of the water from Friedman's sink helped them cover the 1,700 feet distance to Catfish Hotel. After the first 900 feet, they came to an exit line at Sue's sink. A rope tied to a rock marked the spot, and light from the surface
I really don't know what to do.
This exit was meant for emergencies only, because it wasn't set up for divers, but for campers. Their planned exit, Catfish Hotel, was 700 feet away. They kept diving and eventually reached the end of the route near Manatee Springs, but they couldn't see the exit line to Catfish Hotel. Confused, they started searching for any light coming from
do I
above,
make it a
but found
loop?
nothing.
I don't
Fathers
know.
and sons teamed up and decided to return by following the line. At that moment, George had 3,000 psi of air remaining, which was enough to exit safely. However, the return trip turned out to be more difficult than expected. They were moving against the current, so their air
That doesn't-
consumption increased rapidly as their breathing rate went up. Finally, George spotted the exit at Sue's sink and noticed light leaking from the surface. George and
Maybe.
his son
Yeah,
William
alright, I
emerged
can
from
do
the
that.
system at 12 p.m. However, their friends didn't make it out. Something had gone wrong. William wanted to dive back down to find Harry and Jack, but George insisted on calling 911 instead. Harry and Jack had apparently missed the exit at Sue's sink. Their lighting equipment washed out the natural light leaking from the surface, and boulders further blocked it, so they didn't see the exit. They continued diving desperately for another 20 minutes, searching for any exit. Finally, Harry
Oh, that's way
spotted
too
the light
fast.
at Friedman's sink. Rushing ahead along the guideline, he looked back to see his dad's camera light following him. Harry managed to exit the
Still
system
way too
at
fast.
12:20 p.m. with one tank completely empty and the other below 1,500 psi, but his father Jack did not emerge. William and George met up with Harry at Friedman's sink, and they talked about why they had missed the exit at Catfish Hotel. They later realized there was no upline leading to Catfish Hotel. Deep inside the cave, they could see light from the surface, but it was partly blocked by a 10-foot deep
That'll
passage
work.
arranged in a double L shape. a
And
detail
now I
they wouldn't have
need
known without prior
to
experience.
do
In fact, many
this.
divers enter through Catfish Hotel and exit at Friedman's sink because it's easier, even though they have to
Nice
dive
dark
against the
red
current. Cave
background.
rescuers arrived around 12:50 p.m. and found Jack's lifeless body just 100 feet
There.
from the exit at Friedman's sink. Both of his
Here.
tanks were completely empty. He had traveled
Gaussian.
3,400 feet through the system and ran out of
There.
air in the last 100 feet. His final movement was recorded at 12:17 p.m., just 3 minutes before his son surfaced and 17 minutes after his friends surfaced at Sue's sink. The Santa Rosa Blue Hole
Make
tragedy.
these overlay.
On March 26, 2016, two skilled cave divers went on a dangerous mission to map an unexplored
soft light?
part of a cave system in Santa Rosa, New Mexico. Unfortunately, something terrible happened. Deeper caves beneath its floor were sealed in
I'm not sure.
1976
Yeah, let's
after two
do
divers died. In 2016,
let's do overlay
reopening
and
the
have the
entrance
ones in the
led to new
background.
including experienced cave divers Mike Young and Navy veteran Shane Thompson, spent 3 days exploring the reopened tunnels and chambers. On the third and last day, Mike and Shane planned to explore a very tight spot at 140 feet, then move down to another narrow opening at 165 feet. Shane was told to wait at the open area and not go past the second opening himself. Beyond the 165-foot point, there were 5 more tight spots before the cave's last known area. Mike followed a guideline that had been set earlier, moving through boulders and squeezing through narrow passages while carrying tanks on his side and a rebreather unit. Shane had been following Mike up to the 165-foot opening. There, Mike told him to wait, but as soon as Mike was out of sight, Shane decided to follow him, even though that was against their plan. Mike did not know that Shane was right behind him. Shane followed the guideline along a rocky path over large boulders and sharp bends until he reached a narrow 3-foot opening. At that point, the water was full of silt, and he ran into another tight passage. He turned his body and tried to pull himself along the wall, but his back-mounted rebreather got caught on a rock
Almost,
sticking out
not
from
quite.
the tunnel ceiling. With one arm forward and the other touching the cave wall and the guideline, he twisted, trying to free himself. Soon he found that he was stuck between the
No,
rocks.
what?
Moving backwards could have damaged his rebreather, which would have been very dangerous. As he panicked, his
What's your
breathing
deal?
became
Why
fast
is
and
this-
shallow. Suddenly, Mike's arm hit Shane's head.
You're
and they
supposed
ended
to
up
be like
face
big
to face at
bells.
about 195
Supposed to go
feet.
very
Mike was
nicely up
surprised
and
to find
down.
Shane there. and
I
Shane
don't know
said he
why
was
this
stuck and
is.
needed help.
This looks
Mike tried for
strange.
several
Not like it
minutes to
normally
free him,
does.
but they began to panic because the tunnel was too tight for both of them to move if Shane remained trapped. Finally, Mike pushed Shane in just the right way to free his rebreather and pulled him through the tight spot. Shane then went back through the restriction he had just escaped, scraping himself on the rocks but avoiding getting stuck like the first time. Mike followed, but soon noticed that Shane had accidentally moved the guideline, leaving Mike
Very
unable
weird.
to see where to go in the boulder-filled passage. Meanwhile, Shane continued along the winding path and
That
faced
is
yet
not.
another
Yeah,
narrow
that's just
passage.
fucking
Still in
linear.
panic, he moved too
What's
quickly,
your deal?
got the
Why?
guideline tangled around his
That's the
legs.
exact
He managed
same
to
thing
free
as
himself,
linear.
but lost the
That should
guideline
not
in the
be.
process. His heart
No.
began to race and his breathing sped up. This was dangerous because rebreathers needed controlled breathing to work properly.
There we go.
With no clear exit and only tight holes around him, he could not reach the guideline he had seen just outside where he was trapped. He
That's
started
what
to
it's supposed to
hyperventilate
look
and
like.
could
Beautiful.
not calm down. At that moment, Mike reappeared. Seeing that Shane was very scared, Mike moved around the rocks to find an opening. He grabbed Shane by the shoulders and turned him around. Shane, seeing a way out, lunged
Yeah,
forward
whatever.
and swam under Mike, but he became trapped again, this time underneath Mike's body, unable to move forward. In desperation, Shane thrashed and kicked while Mike protected his face from the blows. During the struggle, Shane's heels tore Mike's suit and scraped him against the
Oh,
rocks
nice.
before Shane finally broke free. Afterwards, Mike realized he was still able to function and that his equipment was mostly okay, except for
Yeah.
a ripped suit patch that let the
For
52
real.
degrees Fahrenheit water in. He had also lost a fin, but managed to get it back soon
What was it?
after.
I think
With his
color
nerves
burn
wrecked, Shane
makes
continued
it.
along the guideline, determined to
Yeah,
escape.
nice and
His
dark.
rebreather could not keep up with his
But I
fast
have to
breathing, so he
really
switched to
Gaussian
his
blur
emergency
these ones.
bailout tank for air. Approaching another series of tight spots, he pulled himself through with all his strength, but got stuck for the third time. And this time, Mike was nowhere in sight. Meanwhile, Mike had climbed a little and found a hole leading
Yeah,
back to
nice.
the guideline. Believing that Shane had gone ahead, he followed the line upward toward the next restriction. Feeling tension on the line, he assumed that
So
Shane was
now
pulling from
we
the
can
front.
do
At the next
some-
tie-off, however, Mike realized that Shane was actually behind
Some
him, still
color
attached
nonsense.
to an earlier part of the guideline. Fearing the worst for Shane, Mike backtracked
I
through
think
the tight passages
here-
and boulders. But soon, the line stopped moving, a sign that
On
Shane
this
was in
one, I'll
serious
just
trouble.
hit lighting
Pressing on,
effects.
Mike discovered Shane wedged tightly in a
And
narrow
then I can
opening,
Lumetri the whole
lifeless and no
thing,
longer wearing
probably.
his rebreather
It will
mouthpiece.
probably
His
not get
bailout
angry,
tank was
maybe.
empty, his suit was torn, and the cord to his dive computer was ripped away. It was clear that Shane had fought hard to free himself, but had not survived. Mike tried to free Shane, but soon realized he had to start to get out and report the tragedy to the rest of the team.
Join Planet Fitness for $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends Friday, October 10th.
Is 21 fine? I think so.
Looking for a vehicle, but your credit is less than perfect? No matter
Let's
your
do 20.
situation, at Middletown
Maybe
Nissan,
less.
we say yes. No credit, no problem. Tax ID,
Or,
no
yeah, I can
problem.
lower the focus, right?
No problem. No matter your situation,
I can lower the focus, but make it bigger. So let's do 40 on both.
if we can. Let us help you. Come see
Make
us
that.
at
Sorry, I'm
Middletown
not.
Nissan,
Fuck off,
or visit
Nissan.
us online.
He returned the next day to recover Shane's body,
That
having
should be
navigated
good.
those tight maze-like passages through the boulder field all
And
by
then
himself.
lower the intensity, probably.
Wayanapa Caves. On January 29, 2017, 32-year-old Gregory Wilhelm was vacationing in Maui, Hawaii with 3 friends, when a fun day at Wayanapa State Park turned into a nightmare. While visiting the park,
Wayanapa.
the group discovered the entrance to the Wayanapa Caves. The 4 of them, 2 men and 2 women, decided to take a swim in the well-lit pool near the cave entrance, just as many tourists had done before. While the women stayed by the pool, Gregory, eager to explore, convinced his male friends to join him inside the cave. Gregory decided to improvise and used his phone as a flashlight. He put it inside a Ziploc bag to avoid it getting wet. If they had been planning to do cave exploration to begin with, they probably would have brought a proper flashlight. The women decided to wait at the swimming pool at the cave entrance. Gregory and 1 friend ventured into the darkness.
There we go,
After
it's getting
only a few
better.
feet, they reached an area where the water rose to
It's
their
not
waists
exactly
and
what I
encountered
want
a
yet,
boulder
but-
blocking the way. Beneath the boulder was a deep pool, a popular spot for divers, but without proper equipment, they agreed to do just a quick dive.
Yeah,
of
it
about a
doesn't really
minute
fade
before
into the
resurfacing.
background at
Since
all.
Gregory was the only one with a working light, his friend followed him underwater. Soon, they discovered that the depth was much greater than expected. Curiosity drove Gregory to explore further into a narrow passage, but as the water level began to rise, his friend grew scared.
What if I
and
do the
swam
same
back to the
thing
surface in total darkness
to
without
the
telling Gregory,
background?
leaving him behind. Eventually, though,
So
Gregory
here
needed air and tried to
I
turn
have a
back,
lighting
only to
effect.
find
No,
himself
what?
surrounded by
This one, I have a
darkness.
lighting
Panicked,
effect.
he searched for an exit and managed to find a small pocket of air. But he soon
916,
realized how
493,
unpredictable the cave
40, 40,
was. The
16,
water
negative
level shifted
100.
dramatically with
Okay.
time, and strong currents and violent waves
So
were common.
it
Forced to make a
was
split-second decision before running out of air, he pressed on further into the
916.
cave. Meanwhile, Gregory's friend miraculously resurfaced at the spot where they had
493.
originally dived, but there was no sign
And
of
let's
Gregory.
do.
Worried, the two women
Let's
decided
do
to enter the cave.
50
And inside, they
50.
found Gregory's friend in a state of panic and disorientation. Realizing that Gregory's life was in danger, his male friend re-entered the cave in total darkness.
10.
He instructed both of the women to scream so he could use the sound as a
100.
guide to help him find his way back. After making a third dive, he spotted a tiny light in the distance that grew brighter as he approached. It turned out to be the flashlight on Gregory's phone. However, when he picked it up, Gregory was nowhere to be seen. He returned to his friends, and together they rushed out of the cave to call the Hana Fire Department, which immediately contacted rescue crews. Later, reports indicated that Gregory had lost his sense of direction in a very tight passage. Each failed attempt to retrace his steps only made him more panicked. Eventually, he took a wrong turn, and by the time he tried to find his way back, it was too late. He drowned in total darkness. When rescuers finally arrived, they found Gregory's body 75 feet deep in the cave.
Let's do.
The Goss Canyon
Hold on.
tragedy. On September
If
17,
I just
2000,
fucking
brothers
click
Michael and
this.
Paul Hayden decided to explore an abandoned well cave in Goss Canyon in La Crescenta Montrose, California, a cave they had
Oh,
known
that
well from
fuck.
childhood visits with their 4 other siblings. This
Let's do
particular
that,
cave
though.
featured dry ledges and holes, as well as a water pool
And then
approximately
invert it.
100 feet deep, situated between water shafts above. They entered the cave through a small 3-by-4-foot entrance
I
that
guess I
led
can
to a
feather.
horizontal passage about 50 feet long. Paul, a master sergeant and elite scuba diver with the Air Force Pararescue Force, took the lead. He was equipped with scuba gear that provided him with 2 hours of air and had a GoPro strapped to his head to serve as a light. Meanwhile, Michael stayed near the pool area to monitor his brother. They used a rope tether system attached to a large boulder in the main cave. Michael would tug the rope to check on Paul's status, and Paul would respond with similar tugs to indicate he was okay. For the first 20 minutes, their communication system worked flawlessly. Then, when Michael pulled the rope twice, expecting a response, he received none. Pulling again, he found the rope was tight and immobile. Initially thinking Paul was stuck, Michael pulled as hard as he could. When nothing changed, he immediately left the cave to seek help from the local fire department, knowing that Paul had only 90 minutes of air remaining. Fortunately, the local fire department responded immediately, along with the LA Sheriff's Office and the LA Fire Department, and quickly traveled to the cave entrance to begin the rescue. When Paul's GoPro was found, its footage was analyzed, and it revealed the exact moment he removed his regulator to breathe air from an air pocket in an abandoned water shaft. The air in these pockets, whether formed in abandoned water shafts or naturally within the cave, did not circulate and was contaminated by decay gases from the surrounding
That's kinda
soil,
cool.
rock, and organic material, as well as by gases released through water erosion of stones. This leads to a dangerous increase in carbon dioxide concentration.
Ooh,
Although
I have an
Paul was a
idea.
scuba
Hold
diver,
on.
He was not a certified cave diver. He knew the risks of air pockets in caves and usually carried a lighter to test the oxygen levels before removing his regulator. However, on that tragic day, he didn't have his lighter and assumed the air was safe for a short breath. The footage also showed the walls of the shaft and then captured Paul's submersion in water as he made no attempt to replace his regulator. He lost consciousness instantly, becoming incapacitated and inadvertently poisoning himself with CO2, dying within a minute or two as he sank to the bottom. Culverson Creek tragedy. At around 3:45 p.m. on November 28, 1985, 7 cavers entered the Fuller's entrance of Culverson Creek Cave, a 20.8-mile-long system in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. The group had originally planned to explore Friar's Hole, but high water levels because of heavy rain
Nice.
forced them to
I like
switch to
that.
a cave less prone
That's
to
really
flooding.
cool.
None of the cavers had been in Fuller's before. The entrance passage was a canyon between 5 and 8 feet wide, with a 6 to 12-inch deep stream flowing swiftly over small, loose rock slabs. About 50 feet inside, on a downhill slope, a boulder stood in the center of the passage, with the stream
Let's
flowing by on
do-
the left. At 3:50 p.m., 3 cavers passed the boulder, while 3 more were in the process, with
Color
26-year-old
and
Eric
this.
Sokol leading. As
Let's
Sokol
make
reached
these
the
a
center of the boulder,
subsequence
it
and then
suddenly
give it a little
tilted to the left.
movement.
Despite the cavers' attempts to stop it, the rock
I
moved,
can do that
pinning
through
Sokol
turbulent
by his head in
distortion.
a standing position. 1 caver immediately left to get help, while 4 others attempted in vain to move the boulder.
Because Goofy
Then,
fucking-
1 caver supported Sokol from below, as 3 companions searched the entrance cave for something to use as a lever. They tried with old truck parts, but they proved ineffective.
We can
Caver
do
was
it
sent to fetch
a smooth
hydraulic auto
evolution
jack,
here,
and
I
another
think.
called the Eastern Region Cave Rescue Network.
Make
at
it
4:10
30.
p.m. Sokol lost
Make it
consciousness
20.
within 30 seconds of the rockfall and stopped moving after about 1 minute. At 3:59
Yeah,
p.m.,
like that.
John Evans, a member of the group, noted that Sokol's pulse was still strong despite his unconscious state and a trickle of blood from his left nostril. nostril. Around 4:20 p.m., the hydraulic jack arrived on the scene. With its help, along with some crowbars, the team was finally able to shift the boulder. Sokol was carefully moved to a dry spot about 20 feet away, and CPR was initiated immediately. The Rennick Rescue Squad soon arrived, and a paramedic took over CPR at 4:29 p.m. Sokol was evacuated on a stretcher and reached a hospital by ambulance. Despite establishing IVs and administering cardiac drugs, his condition did not improve, and he was pronounced dead at 6:05.
Maybe, dude. Okay.
If you like this video,
Funny idea.
subscribe for similar ones, or join my Discord to
Oh
suggest
wait,
another.
Bono, didn't I promise that I would put Homer in his eye? I did. Hold on.
Okay, stop. Yes, Rocket Money cancels subscriptions, but it also gives you total control over your finances.
Wait, how?
So do you ever feel like you have no
Um,
idea where your money goes?
Yeah.
So Rocket Money quickly tracks your income, bills, and expenses to give you the clearest picture of where your money
Yes. Okay. Here, let's get a good Homer for reference. Homer from the Bronx.
Cueva, Los Angeles.
I mean, this one's pretty good. None of these are Homer though. I don't think the internet knows good what Homer is. This doesn't give me. I want him in like an NY hat with a chin strap beard. Like you know what NY hat, the blue one with the sewn on kind of white New York symbol. That works. Okay, God damn it, that is not. Yeah, exactly. You get it. I'm just gonna copy this pretty much. I mean, it has to be my drawing. I can't steal art. I can just make him naked. His fat ass is out. His big smelly feet. Slinging that thing around. Exactly. Yeah, you understand the vision before it's even in print. You think this is TOS? I don't think so. Beige pubes. Low key though. What do you mean chode vibes? I almost looked up chode vibes. That would have given me something evil. What the fuck am I gonna put on? I want some music or something. It's been 2.5 hours. I'm glad we're getting close. This thing's almost done. That's good. I'm not gonna be able to do this every day of the month, so I want to do as many as I can. It feels good to get some shit done.
The ambiance, the
Like, you know, it goes on my resume now. This is art that I've made, and I think that's cool.
Chase Sapphire Reserve.
Hi everyone, Jeremy Allen White here. Tickets are officially on sale for our new film, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere.
I don't give a shit.
Welcome, 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 welcome to business.
Why do you spell rack like that? It's okay. Don't worry about it, man. Yeah, you can vacuum. I'll probably call it off at around 3 hours because, like, then I'll have put plenty of work into it. I'll be satisfied. I'm pretty sure I've drawn a Homer every time so far. Like, every day I've done an Inktober. I've drawn someone of The Simpsons, at least. I drew Bart getting annihilated day one. Very nice. Cool. Now, a big stack of money. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Yeah. What? Okay. Keep forgetting. There we go. This is perfect. Couldn't have asked for a better Homer, I think. Alright, and now with the NY hat. Wait, how do you make it? I don't know how to make that symbol. Hold on. That. Okay. How do you do it? Yeah, but it's like weird. I don't know. I don't draw that a lot. How do you fit the two letters together? It's like that, but less stupid. Pretty much like that. No, he's not gripping his hog. His hand's over here. He doesn't have a hog. How does this look like he's gripping his hog? His feet are just fucking stupid. I don't care. There's Homer. Now we have to be kind of subtle about this. There we go. Now hit the overlay. What? Now you can make him real. There you go. Now Homer New York Soul is in it. 2 nuts and some fingers? What? What do you mean? 2 oh, like those are his balls. Oh my god. Dude, he's an amputee on his right foot. He's only got 1 big long toe. He's just 2 nuts. I'm fine with that. You can interpret it that way. Art is subjective. There. He's at 5% opacity. His soul imbued in the artwork. Alright. I want one more thing though, because it needs to be murkier. Let's Lumetri this. I am about done. I'm gonna draw in some writing and then I'm gonna call it. I like how this looks. It's not as cool as yesterday's, in my opinion, but it is pretty cool. You know, we're still learning. See what auto does. Oh, interesting. Okay. I need to make the whole thing a little darker though. We can up the vibrance and then lower the contrast maybe. No. Or I meant exposure, whatever. No. I don't know. I want it to be darker, man. I'm not sure what to do. What if I did this? Ooh, that's interesting. Why? Oh, it's because of those on top. Okay. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. Nice. Okay, we're gonna roll with it. Yeah, we're gonna open this now. Or no, let's do it in... Let's do it here. This is a little trick I like to do when I want to record writing. I open up OBS, I begin screen recording, go into A-Sprite or something, and then zoom in. Will I be able to write here? Yeah, but it's not that big, so let's get a bigger canvas. But just add zeros. There we go. Nice and big. And now we can just fill that whole thing. Then we give white writing. Great. Oh wait, how do you spell trochanteric? Is it? It's just QA, right? No. What? What is happening? Well, now my thing is just bugging. What? What's going on? Are you okay? What the fuck? You see I bugged over, screwed up my words twice? I'm looking up the description of the enemy. I can write it. Oh, it is QU. Ah, fuck. Okay, that'll be good there. And are you serious? There we go. And that should be fine. So now, with that video, I can record it, go back into here. And it's like, it's a little bit of a pain, but it's not a big deal. It's in videos, maybe? No, I don't recall. There's a lot of videos of me doing this. I don't know where the fuck mine is, though. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. So now we go in here. I spell it wrong multiple times. Very cool. Done there. Great. And then here, let's grab that, and I can actually cut out the E glitch. If I just go here to here, do that. Great. Okay. So now, let's make this a subsequence. I can drop it right on top. We're gonna apply crop and ultra keys to both of these. Aggressive ultra key might be too much. I hope the normal version works good, otherwise I'll have to mess around with keying more. Oh, my fault. Hit my mic. Great. And same thing for this one. Great. Okay. So I can also do this on both. Let's set it to 2020. Yeah, that'll be good. And then we can do random evolution options. Oh, well, that's one thing. I need to extend them, right? So, actually, maybe I should... There's a couple ways to do this, probably. Let's take this part and extend this. Let's make it like one. Fuck it. There. Nah. Let's do it like that. But that's gonna look like shit. Hold on. Let's get rid of the turbulent displace. I need to make it a full extended subsequence before I do this. The other one's already in a subsequence, so I can just go inside that one. Yeah, this is the right way to do this. Because otherwise I'm gonna end up with imperfections. And that would annoy me. Okay. Okay, there. And now I should be able to piece this together. And then I'll add the off logo and then it'll be great. That'll be it. Let's make it faster. Oh, that's not. Mine's getting laggy now. To be fair, I do have a lot of things that are running. Let's I can disable these, right? Yeah, these are all unnecessary clips, so that should save some space. That doesn't work. Or is it this? Which one? These things? There. Yeah, you guys. Okay. I'm gonna have you start up here. Oh. Okay. Sorry. I guess that's cool. Let's have it do 800 times. Oh, it's still not done though. What? Did I fuck up? Oh shit. Okay, whoopsies. There. That'll be better. Booga booga. Hi. I'm about finished. I will be ready momentarily. I haven't made my hot dog yet, but I'm done with this, pretty much. So, good stuff. How was it? Incredible, I imagine. Oh, lame. Wait, what? Oh, I'm not... I see. Okay, hold on. What the fuck? Okay, it just deleted itself? Awesome. Why? Why do you keep doing that? Excuse me? What? Oh. The fuck? What is up with you? This is certainly weird. I don't know what's going on there. No? What? Where is it? This is incredibly strange. And, okay, fine. Let's do this. How long is that gonna take? Nice, that's how long I wanted. Oh, this will give me the ability to find that text at least. I think it looks pretty cool. Oh, it's getting complicated, isn't it? I don't really care. Well, I rendered at the beginning. I'm realizing there's something I didn't do. I think I didn't set up the evolution. Yeah. There. There. That's just set at the end. Same with you. And honestly, let's get rid of that. I have a better way to do it. No, it doesn't need to unwrite itself, it's fine. Oh, and you know what I'm missing? I need one more thing. I need a smiley face, man. Let's just draw one. And then pop it in all at once. I think that'd be cool. I don't know if I like that smiley face. He's kind of evil looking. Maybe that's good, but maybe it's bad. Whatever. This should be solid.
Target Circle Week's big deals and more are back. Good news for Circle members, and good news if you're not, because Circle is free and easy to join. Get hot daily deals at 40% off, plus BOGOs all week long.
Oh, come on.
7 days of big deals
There
start
you go.
Sunday. Restrictions apply.
Really lagging though.
Southwest is introducing assigned seating! Assigned seating! Now we can choose our seats before we get on the plane. I had a dream about this!
Doesn't every airline do assigned seating?
They do now.
There. Let's close this, we don't need it anymore. If you can, close the program. I might as well. My computer's on its last legs anyway. Turbulent displays, posterize time. Yeah. Okay. Oh wait, it's already in here, isn't it? Hold on. What? Hi. Yeah, sorry, I'm not done. No, not that one. What? Did I... I thought I brought the off thing in here. Or the other one. The most recent Inktober. But whatever. It's probably in animations. There it is. Here. I already did this yesterday, but I'll do it again. All you gotta do is do this, make them each 4. They're already selected, so close the gap. No, select again. Make subsequence. Drag the subsequence, put it here. There we go. Cut and paste. What if I put like 1,000 of them on the screen? That'd be kind of cool. Nah, it's not what I wanted. Okay. You know what? Let's make them all longer. It's alright. Okay. So this one is gonna be... Oh, shit! Oh, that sucks. I forgot. God damn it. Well, no, that's fine. It's an easy fix. Scale to frame size. Here, afro. Here, there we go. Okay, that should work. If it doesn't, I'll just cry. Oh man, my back. I was hunched over a bit. Okay, Inktober 04, Murky. Maybe I should make it a video though. Hold on. If I do the... Well, I don't want this guy talking the whole time. I just want the sound. Well, I'm doing the same thing. I don't know why I'm being recommended Brian Griffin insufferable clips. I understand why the Pokemon's there, though. What the fuck is this? I mean, is this...
You've got 4 distinct
Oh
zones
my
to
god.
explore, each with its own identity and mechanics, plus the final area, the room, which changes the tone entirely. Along the way, you'll meet strange NPCs.
With Thrivent,
There. I hope this is no voice.
it's personal. We help your
It's
money make a
Vader.
difference for the ones who matter most. Because helping you serve others is at the heart of what we do. Thrivent, where money means more.
There. That should be good. Let's do that. Man, I could never just be satisfied with a project. Maybe I would have to add sound for the whole thing, wouldn't I? It's what I do. Nice. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Let's do the same thing. No, not that. No, not that either. I know. Okay, that might take a minute, but the other one I can get done now. Excuse me. Okay. And finally, I'm about done. 3.5 hours. That should be good. I want to see where the, well, I guess I can, no, I can't, it's fine. There we go, okay. Subsequence. No. That should be it. That should be solid. Should be good. I can export this, and then I can make myself a hot dog, and then I can call Morrow back, and we can play Golden Light. We can beat that. Oh, and then I'll play Deltarune until I'm tired. I'm not going to be playing with my friend today, so that frees up my night. Pretty much, at least. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Well, I'm gonna end stream so that I can go get a hot dog. But I will talk in Disc, and I will add Marlo. If you are not here, I will coordinate with you, and we will set up a Golden Light. Okay? That's what's happening. What? Are you okay? Did you get called somewhere? You're good? Stream hot dog cook? I could. I mean, could I? Can I stream from my phone? I don't know if I can. Maybe. I'm really not sure. I don't think so. Are you upset just because I'm leaving to make a hot dog? It'll take like fucking 5 minutes. I just don't want to. Yeah, you know. I'll be right back, okay? And I'll add everyone again. So, see you momentarily.